keep us there if we can get there naturally. So we'll see. Like I said, we have a fast Belhaven Investments, Liqui Moly BMW, and looking forward to the race today.
And how difficult is it behind multiple cars to keep the front tires under you?
Yeah, certainly. It's going to depend on when people start saving and we lose the front aero, just, you know, what exactly happens and how fast we're able to go and what fuel number we're able to get. There's going to be a lot of variables. Hard to pass naturally on track. I think the first couple laps, so it'll be stacking up in the brake zones and stuff. There'll be opportunities, but we'll see once we settle in where we're at.
Thanks. Good luck today. We're getting ready for opening ceremonies, John, as our drivers get ready for the national anthems.
Let's have a look at our Porsche keys to the race. Ryan Marine and John Heindorf on Michelin Countdown to Green. We've talked about this all weekend, Ryan. Track position, we've seen it in all of the races this weekend that have had pit stops. You simply can't ignore it.
Oh, it's a massive part of racing here. It's a thrilling track to drive, difficult to overtake, as we heard Patrick Gallagher allude to there a moment ago, and the statistics back this up. In the last 3 modern LMP2 races here, every top 2 finisher has started 4th or better. Similar stat in GTD, where 6 of the last 9 GTD class winners here have started from the front row. In fact, the furthest in those 9 races a winner has come from is 6th. So you're looking at that group that's starting up front to be likely there in the mix, but there are a few ways you can strategize yourself into a race if things go sideways early or qualifying didn't quite go according to plan. That said, it's a lot more difficult starting from the back here at CTMP than most other places we go.
We often talk about penalties, and we're not talking about the shootout in the FIFA World Cup at the moment. This is a short pit lane. In and out is not so bad, but it's also a short lap, and full service will take you probably down a lap if you get it wrong. So you can't be attracting the attention of race control too many times.
Correct. So the pit lane transit time at 60 kph is 23 seconds. That's not the true delta, of course, because it's a shorter distance when you're taking the pit lane, and also you're not standing still. So you still do lose well over 20 seconds on that drive through the pit lane. So as far as drive-throughs go, it's not massive. But what you talked about with the short nature of the lap and a full service, what that means here at CTMP, you pretty much have to be running pretty close to the leader in order to pit and stay on the lead lap. And that adds some jeopardy to anyone that's trying to short pit and do an undercut strategy, because you risk falling a lap down if you don't execute that pit stop perfectly, even if you're up close to the front of the pack. Traffic.
Only 32 cars, but 32 cars on a 2.5 mile track. Just the 9 P2s. The rest of the 30 cars are GTs. And we've seen over the weekend that actually, other than VMAX top speed, the GT cars are every bit the equal of the prototypes, particularly in braking and punching out of the corners. Maybe not through the corners, but certainly in and out.
And even at top speed, it's not terribly different. About 165, I'm reliably told, in LMP2 compared to 158 miles per hour top speed for the GT cars. So that's not a huge delta, but of course the P2s get there a lot quicker than the GTs do. How that traffic is managed, though, that could be a huge part of the race. And I'm not just talking between the prototypes and the GTs. Remember, with any safety car, we reset the 2 GT classes, pros ahead of GTDs, right? And there's been a pretty decent mix between the front-running GTD cars into the mid-pack or even higher up in GTD Pro, because it's all the same GT3-based machinery. So every time we have a reset, every time there's a safety car, the front of that GTD field is going to be dealing with very similar cars in terms of other GT machines that they might have a slight pace advantage on, but they'll restart behind every time.
Yeah, just as an illustration of that, I think Dudu Barrichello's qualifying time would have put him 7th on the GTD Pro grid, so not far away from halfway up the field in that Heart of Racing Aston Martin. And I almost didn't put this in, but I think we've got to. The heat. This is hotter than it's been at any stage of the weekend, both the air temperature and the track temperature. And that brings the Michelin tyres into play as well. So I always say and the tyres, it's something we always talk about. And we've already heard a couple of drivers talking particularly about the front tyres. This is a fast track, Ryan. The left front, turning right more often, gets most of the hammer, most of the pressure. This is very, very hot today.
It is. So 81 degrees Fahrenheit in the air. The track temperature is approaching 130. That's as high as I've seen it all weekend long. And don't forget, a decent amount of humidity in the air, too, close to 40% at the moment, 39% on the monitor I'm looking at. So that will be taxing for the drivers. But as you mentioned, the tires, too, will be put through the ringer around this high-speed venue, especially, I would say, in the GT classes where their fuel capacity is greater than the P2s. They can go pretty long on a stint. We're talking upwards of an hour on a stint as far as fuel goes, but can they make it go that entire distance on tires, especially that left front? That's something to keep an eye on.
We'll keep an eye on the Porsche keys to race throughout the 2 hours and 40 minutes. Don't forget, we've got Michelin post-race tech to come. But now, let's have a look at the full field rundown. "31 cars on the grid for the Chevrolet Grand Prix, 2 hours and 40 minutes, 13 GTDs, 10 GTD Pros, 9 LMP2s, our top class this weekend. Let's start in the GTDs, and it's the 3 bronze category cars at the back who are fighting for the Bobby Aitken Award and the Bob Aitken Award and that invitation to Le Mans next year. Torrey Fidani for 13 Autosport on home ground, red and white colourway this weekend for the number 13 machine. On the 32nd position on the inside actually it won't quite work like that because we'll split out, so he's on 13th position. So the 6th row of GTD, it'll be Sheena Monk on the outside in the red, white and blue Mustang from Maya Riley's Motorsport, the 16 car with Brendan O'Reilly, and the bright yellow Inception Racing Ferrari 296 for company. On the 5th row, Adam Adelson for the green and yellow Wright Motorsport Porsche, the 120 car in the wars earlier on this weekend, but restored to its pristine looks and back out for qualifying yesterday. Jake Walker, Gradient Racing, the Silver Bullet number 66, starts in 9th position in GTD, 1 row ahead on the outside of row 4, Conquest Racing, another car that had its trials and tribulations. The silver and light blue number 34 Ferrari will be started by Lorenzo Patrese. Casper Stevenson will start the multicoloured Corvette, mostly purple and green. The number 81 car is in 7th position in class. Patrick Gallagher for Turner Motorsport BMW, the 96 car on the outside of the 3rd row of the grid. He'll have Danny Formal for company for Wayne Taylor Racing in the Lamborghini Huracan, one of 2 different types of Lamborghini GTs we have this weekend. That's the Black Dex Imaging number 45. Front 2 rows of the grid. It's not been a good few weeks for Russell Ward and Winward Racing. Can they get their championship back on track? His dad didn't have a good day yesterday either. The Mercedes AMG number 57 starting in 4th position with Benjamin Pedersen for Vassar Sullivan's Lexus number 12 alongside. Mason Filippi for DXDT back on the grid with Robert Wickens to take that car over. The Corvette number 36 in green and gold starts on the outside of the front row for GTD. And Dudu Barrichello for Harter Racing Team, Aston Martin Vantage, the number 27. 2 major sports car endurance events this weekend, one here, one in Brazil. Harter Racing took both of the GT poles. In GTD Pro, 5 grid rows. Frederick Vervisch for Ford Racing in the number 65 Mustang GT3 is alongside his teammate Ben Barker in 9th position for the similar car, the number 64. On the 4th row of the grid, Pfaff Motorsport back in plaid for the Lamborghini Temerario. A little bit of extra wing adjustment on that car given to them by IMSA for this weekend as part of their balance of performance. The number 9 starts in 8th position. It's not been a great weekend so far for AO Racing. Harry King and the Bedfordshire Bullet. Number 77, Porsche starts in 7th position. On the outside of row 3, the Vassar Sullivan Pro car, the Lexus RCF GT3, Jack Hawksworth will start the number 14. With the car blanche, Aston Martin, Scott Andrews, driven number 68 for company. Then it's a row full of the bow tie. This is bow tie company. Bow tie country. A lot of interest in the Corvette Racing by Pratt Miller cars. Nicky Katzberg starts 4th in the number 4, and the number 3 will be started by Alexander Sims on that second row. 2 great stories on the front row. RLL Team McLaren with a team of drivers that have never been here. Didn't seem to bother them. Max Esterson, just a tiny blink of the eye away from pole position in the number 59 car, which was claimed in some style by Neil Verhagen. The number 1 Paul Miller Racing iHeartRadio BMW. That leaves us with 4.5 rows of LMP2 cars. PJ Hyatt, AO Racing, has been put to the back of the grid. The front splitter was found to be too low after qualifying. Spike the Dragon then on its own on row 5. Row 4, John Ferrano for the orange and black Tower Motorsports number 8 car. These are all Oricas, of course. Toby Lutke will start TDS, the number 11 Shopify car. Chris Cummins starting the Pratt & Miller number 73 in 6th position with Phil Fair from United Autosports number 2 alongside him. Front 2 rows of the grid, George Kurtz, CrowdStrike Racing by APR, the 04, alongside Daniel Goldberg for the other United Autosports. That's the 22 Orica. And on the front row, Misha Goikberg, Brian Herter Autosport with Kerb Agajanian, the number 52. But Jeremy Clark, the man who set the timing sheets alight, not literally, obviously, into Europol, doing into Europol things, the yellow and green number 43 on pole position for the Chevrolet Grand Prix. That's how they'll come round to the green flag. So let's head back down to the pit lane and our driver database informed pit lane reporter. All of the formalities, I think, are completed now. Arjuna, are we getting ready to roll?
Indeed we are. The pit lane has been cleared. The drivers are getting themselves strapped in, and some conversations in the last couple of moments, John, as I try and get some more of those strategy details from the drivers. My truth serum not quite working just yet, but depending on who I ask, I get a different sort of answer. Some teams telling me that they've got options to play later in the race. Some saying they've got a little less of a playing field to work with as we get underway in this 2-hour, 40-minute race. Track position we know is going to be key, but when teams tell you they don't have tools to move forward, that's often a worrying thing.
It's a fair point, well made. The other thing that I nearly put into the Porsche keys to race, Ryan, is we are getting to a part of the season where for those that it matters, i.e. those at the top end of the championship standings, that's got to be in the back of the mind now. You want to put together a good run to Motul Petit Le Mans, and that might just start now to play a part in how they are racing.
Yeah, you're right. We're at that point of the season where you're having to think about the big picture, and especially of the 3 classes here, P2 and GTD Pro are pretty hotly contested. Only 53 points. This is adjusted for the qualifying points, by the way, between first and second in P2. 61 points between first and third, and it's 88 points covering the top 3 in the GTD Pro class. And a lot can change, and it can change quickly with 350 points on offer for a race win today.
So, the other side of that, of course, is that people who aren't involved in the championship maybe haven't had a great first half of the season. They've got nothing to lose. All they're looking for is race victories. And that actually sometimes can be a bigger factor than those people trying to stay out of trouble. Okay, that is your Michelin countdown to green. Our Michelin post-race tech show will follow on from the World Feed TV exclusively live here on RS2, part of the Radio Show Limited network of channels. So sit back, grab some snacks, get ready, because what is coming is 2 hours and 40 minutes of non-stop solid gold action. The IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship Chevrolet Grand Prix.
This program is a Radio Show Limited production. For more, check imsaradio.com and subscribe to IMSA Radio wherever you get your podcasts.
The WeatherTech Sports Car Championship on IMSA Radio.
Canadian Tire Motorsport Park plays hosts to this weekend's IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship for the Chevrolet Grand Prix. There's a big Chevrolet contingent here with Canadian headquarters not too far away, manufacturing plant down the road at Oshawa. This circuit has been testing the world's best for decades. 2.459 miles. That's it, was 3.9 kilometres around here. Action areas, turn 5, and turn 5. It's all happened at Moss Corner this week in all of the different IMSA Championship. But it is a lovely circuit with a little bit of everything. Exceptionally fast. Not many braking areas other than, yeah, you guessed it, turn 5. Hello, everybody, and welcome along to our coverage in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. It's John Hindhaugh and Ryan Marine as we'll bring you full, live and uninterrupted coverage of the Chevrolet Grand Prix just outside of Bowmanville here in Ontario at CTMP, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. In our driver database informed pit lane team reporter, well, that is Arjun Kankapati. Let's go down to him now and make sure that he's the only one standing in the pit lane and none of the 32 cars are. Good afternoon, Arjuna.
Good afternoon, John. All 32 cars rolling around and getting themselves ready to go for a 2 hour and 40-minute sprint that sees the LMP2 class feature as the top. And talking to a handful of the bronze drivers, what an opportunity for them to lead this field, to green for Jeremy Clark, but also to potentially stand on top of the overall podium. It's going to be an interesting strategy battle as they manage their way through the race, but maybe not as interesting as the strategy talk down in GTD Pro and GTD, where if this race stays green, it could be rather simple on strategy. But those cautions, John, we saw it yesterday in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. The timing of cautions led to a fuel save run to the very end, and one of the teams finishing with just 0.2 of a litre in the tank. This race has finished under caution 2 of the last 3 years. We could see another fuel gambit to the end.
It's a split start, of course, and apart from the turns and the straights, you've got the braking areas. Our Brembo brake facts show that this is fairly easy on the brakes. That toughest braking point is at Moss Corner, and there are only 5 braking zones per lap. When you're saving fuel, actually, you don't even brake for turn 1. You just lift and coast around there. At that turn 5 braking zone in GTD, you're scrubbing just short of 100 miles an hour off your speed, around about 95 miles per hour coming off. And in GTD, you're pulling about minus 2.2 Gs at that point. And trust me, you'll feel that. You'll be getting pushed on to the belts as you go down the hill and into the compression before Moss Corner, turn 5 and 6. Those are your Brembo brake facts. Ryan Marine, championships on the line, but the big story today is the heat. Track temperature 53 Celsius. That's nearly 130 Fahrenheit. In the air, it's 27 Celsius. And that's all right if you're standing outside and you've got a nice cool drink. 81 Fahrenheit. It's rather pleasant. But in the car, the temperature in the cockpit more likely to be something over 50 Celsius again, pushing 130 Fahrenheit. This is going to be an endurance race, even though it's, in air quotes, only 2 hours 40 minutes.
Well, no question about it. And in fact, you think about this track too. On top of the heat, you've got the physicality of this track, high-speed corners, big G loads. Even the Mario Andretti straight technically has 2 turns in it. So basically, you don't have a chance to rest anywhere around this place, which makes the heat an even bigger factor, knowing that there's not any chance to catch your breath.
Our Porsche keys to the race. We've talked about track position in the Michelin Countdown to Green. We've talked about penalties, traffic, the heat, and the tyres. I think this one is going to be, for the strategists, basically react to what's going on. Any early or mid-stint appearance by the blue Chevy Corvette safety car will have to be recalculated very quickly. 2 safety cars, the P2s will go first, then it'll be the GTD Pros and the GTDs behind them. That's how we'll start, that's how we will restart. 2 hours and 40 minutes on the clock. The Chevrolet Grand Prix at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship is about to go green. Wherever you're watching or listening from around the world, maybe on Sirius XM 206, we're racing. The clock starts now, and down in the first corner, Jeremy Clark from pole position and into Europol. Make sure that he holds off Misha Goikberg, Brian Herder Autosport. It is still in third place. The third place starter, Daniel Goldberg with George Kurtz, then Phil Fair, PJ Hyatt in the purple, Spike the Dragon put to the back of the P2 grid there. Spoiler at the front was too low after qualifying. The GTDs get underway with the pros at the front. Neil Verhagen with Paul Miller Racing's BMW holds on the lead. Big Story in second place. RLL Team McLaren, first time here for that team with that car and the 2 drivers. Max Esterson found a 2.5 seconds quicker than the car had gone at any time during the week in qualifying, and planted that car solidly on the front row of the grid. Then it's the 2 Corvettes. The new team, Car Blanche, Aston Martin Vantage, Scott Andrews in 5th, Jack Hawksworth in 6th, and GTD, Dudu Barrichello leading the championship on his own for Harter Racing Team. In the championship terms, he's got another new co-driver this weekend, of which more later. He's held on to his pole position, but he's quicker than 3 or 4 of the pro cars ahead of him, so watch for that Aston Martin coming through. He's already on the back of the Ford of Frederick Vervisch as they go down the Mario Andretti straight for their first time. Coming to complete the end of the first lap, and it's been pretty clean. That's the good news, Ryan Marine.
Definitely good news. PJ Hyatt from the back of the LMP2 class picked up 2 positions on that opening lap around Ferrano and Lucas, so quickly up to 7th place. We know there's a lot of pace in that car. Checking out some of the other positions, looked like Mason Filippi maybe struggling a little bit on that opening lap in GTD, but settling into a rhythm. Good to have DXDT Racing back in a sprint race for the first time in a while after that trailer fire sidetracked this program at Laguna.
Now let's see what happens early on. Oh, massive overtaking manoeuvre going through Quebec corner going through Moss corner, on the first lap, and that was the Dex Imaging Danny Formal driven Wayne Taylor Racing Lamborghini. Said that was a big action area, outside past one car, inside past the other, a little bit of elbows out, a little bit of hip and shoulder, but everyone has got through without any major issues. Jeremy Clark leads by a second from Misha Goikberg, who has the quickest lap in the LMP2 field. The whole field, of course, putting their fastest laps in as they go through. Side by side, Conquest Racing in the blue, white and black Ferrari number 34. That's Lorenzo Patrese. That's been a decent start from him. He's having a good old scrap as well at the moment. That car was damaged early in the weekend, one of a couple. They lost their best lap in qualifying because they caused a red flag, as did the Porsche 120, the Wright Racing car. That looked a little bit second hand earlier on. They've turned, both of those teams work well to turn those cars around, Ryan.
Yeah, fantastic work by both Conquest and Wright Motorsports. This lunge by Patrese, I mean, he's already fighting with Peterson for second place. This is a remarkable start for this Ferrari. Patrese had to start back in 8th, having lost his fastest lap in qualifying. Actually, they had a couple other laps invalidated, as I recall, in qualifying that dropped him even further down to end up in 8th. He would have been higher up if it weren't for that. that. So a really remarkable start, quick charge up through the field, and we know that car has pace in it if they can avoid trouble.
And there's the key. There is the key. Avoid trouble. Maybe that should always be a part of the Porsche keys to the race. It's almost so obvious that you don't want to put it in there. In our Michelin Countdown, Green mentioned that A1 Racing hadn't had the best weekend in either of the classes. Harry King has just put the fastest lap of the race in the car that he shares with Nick Tandy. The Bedfordshire Bullet will be along later on. You're waiting for him back in the centre of England. Hello to Felix Tandy, up-and-coming karting star. Another generation of Tandy racers already coming off the rank. Already won a championship, moving up this year in class. AO Racing in 7th position in GTD Pro at the moment and challenging Scott Andrews for 6th. Also challenging for 6th, but in the LMP2 category, PJ Hyatt has got Chris Cumming ahead of him. And that's the Pratt Miller Motorsport bright orange cars. They go through Quebec Corner, down the short chute, under the Canadian Tire Bridge for the GTD leaders. That's at turn 8. The overall race leaders just coming to a turn down the Andretti Straight, actually. So they're going to get traffic, Ryan, probably the next lap or the one after that in terms of the P2 cars coming through the GTs.
It shouldn't be too long now, and that's going to be a big part of this race. You can tell how quickly this happens around a track like this. The P2's coming up on the GT traffic, and once it starts, it pretty much doesn't stop until we get a full course yellow to break things up for a little bit. And in years past, certainly the way that the classes mixed together has had a big part to play in the outcome of these races here at CTMP. It's a tough place to coexist from time to time.
Hello to Robert Cruiser with his daughter Ellie, excited to get this race going. Also to Jeff Whitmore, says welcome to Canada, couldn't ask for a better day. You're not wrong there. And Ray Lathan, one of our international listeners on the IMSA YouTube or the video player at imsaradio.com. He's in Cape Town, South Africa. Thanks again for the brilliant coverage. It's our pleasure. We're having fun. Hope you are too at IMSA Radio if you want to get in touch with us. And hello to Kevin Brink as well, who is tuned in on the left-hand coast of the United States of America with a great view over the bay at Monterey there. At IMSA Radio if you want to get in touch. Coming down to having completed the first 10 minutes, 7 minutes in the book. It's Jeremy Clark leading, but his lead down to just half a second as Misha Goldberg has had the hurry up. And here comes the traffic. Here's the first danger moment for the leader. He's gone through the traffic, and that's where he lost part of his lead, but he built up just enough of a gap. Here's the Inter-Europol car coming through past Sheena Monk right now. And right on his tail, Misha Goldberg in the blue and green machine. That's first and second position, diving down to the bottom of the hill before Moss Corner. 5 and 6, big crowd on the hillside there. Been there since early this morning. The Mazda race was a lovely way to kick off. And congratulations to all of the Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by Michelin Runners. Great entertainment again. Rookie winner earlier on today. I was about to say who won there, but I'm not going to, because I realise you might be saving that for later. And as half the fields are rookies this year, I haven't really given too much away on that one. A moment or two ago, just a little bit of a run wide from PJ Hyatt at White's Corner. That's the 10th and final turn on this circuit. We used to have a commentary booth just behind the wall on the hill there in a portable building. That was before the beautiful new structure a little further up the hill. But there's no doubt in my mind, Ryan, that PJ Hyatt wants to close that gap. He's only 8 seconds away from the front of the field, but that's 8 seconds that he wants to cut down. We'll keep an eye on that as we take A driver database informed pit lane report. DXDT are back. Great to have them back. Running 5th at the moment. Mason Filippi started the car. Robert Wiggins will be jumping in later on our journey.
And Robert told us during practice that trailer fire not only impacted the car, but the electronic systems that Chevrolet, Bosch and DXDT had been able to put Robbie in the car. Robbie, you used the first couple of sessions to dial yourself and the systems in. How are you now getting back up to speed? Is it basically the same system that you had before?
Yeah, it was all basically the same as what we had before, but we had to manufacture it all again. So little nuances are different, you know. Like any seat fit, you know, I had kind of those paddles exactly where I wanted them, and now they're kind of a millimeter off here and there. So it all feels a little bit different to what I remember in Long Beach. For the most part, it's amazing how accurate Corvette Racing can build a race car, and how Bosch can manufacture my hand control systems with the accuracy that they do. Because, you know, from the car standpoint, it's basically just a different chassis number, and everything else looks and feels exactly the same. So yeah, it's hats off to all the men and women at DXDT Racing, Corvette, Bosch, General Motors to kind of make this all happen. So yeah, a lot of gratitude this weekend. There was moments where I didn't think I was going to get my home race this year, but we're here, we're in good position, running in the top 5, so it's all still to play for.
Yeah, DXDT has given you guys a good car as well. Mason qualified in 2nd, maybe boxed out slightly on the start, but does this impact the strategy at all and the maybe fuel and tire saving that you guys have talked about?
I think you always want track position, but you know, in terms of strategy, nothing changes so far. We're just going to try to settle in, capitalize on opportunities, but yeah, we'll see how the race plays out.
Thanks, Robbie.
Thank you.
Mason Filippi 5th in that number 36 car. The GTDs not allowed to have full pro lineups, of course. They run with the green number backgrounds. The GTD Pros with the red number backgrounds. They have more freedom to pick from the driver talent. The potential of the cars themselves in terms of the performance are exactly the same. So, for example, the Chevrolet Corvette of Dragon Speed or DXDT runs to the same performance parameters as the two Corvette Racing by Pratt Miller. A bit of hip and shoulder a moment or two ago from the Car Blanche Aston Martin as it pulled across to repel Harry King, but Harry has gone through, and I think there was a touch there, Ryan, and it may be that Scott Andrews, number 68, white cars, actually come off the worst there.
It certainly has. He not only lost the spot to King, but I think he fell to the back of the GTD Pro class as well. And actually, yes, I can confirm that, just behind Barker in the 2nd of the Mustangs and ahead of GTD leader Dudu Barrichello. So that was a tough sequence there for Andrews, who was on the defensive, trying to keep Harry King and Rexy behind. And that contact certainly left him on the back foot, cost him several positions.
This is as well as we've seen Rexy going this weekend. Last 2 CTMP starts, they were on the 3rd step of the box both times. It'll be a good run if they can replicate that today, that car, whether it was in Nick Tandy's hands early in the weekend or Harry King. And let's be quite clear about this. Both of those drivers, Ryan, know how to drive Porsches, but it's just not seemed to have the pace.
No, for whatever reason, the last handful of races, it's been a bit of a struggle for AO Racing and their GTD Pro entry. It's been since Laguna Seca in May, since they've been on the podium. Still looking for their first win of the season, but back-to-back finishes of 9th and 7th in the last 2 races have them on the back foot, and that's about where they've been in the practice sessions throughout the course of this weekend, too. Qualified in the back half of the GTD Pro field this weekend, but making their way forward here up to 6th place right now for King.
Hello to Stephen Ellis, best crowd he's ever seen here at CTMP. It's been busy all week from when the cars rolled out on the track in the early sessions on Thursday. Had a bit of a weather warning in the early sessions, but it's been fabulous. Cleaned up, barely the cloud, just little cotton wool clouds in the sky. Hello to Lee Jordan got to be up for work at 2 a.m. UK time. Can't tear myself away. 20 past 7, I guess, in the UK right now. Lovely weather across most of the United Kingdom as well at the moment. Similar sort of temperatures to what we've had here today. The Tower cars in the wall. Driver's right. Full course yellow has come out with 14 minutes gone. John Ferrano has looped the car. My guess is he's dropped his left-hand side Michelin's off, exiting Quebec corner, and the car has spun across and hit the wall on his right. There's some damage to the bodywork at the front. That's unguarded concrete there, but the wheels are pointing in the right direction. There might be a dive plane on the right front that looks a little bit wavy there, and maybe a nose change for that car. In fact, the dive plane might just fall off. Yeah, the under trace flapping around is going to be making that awful noise. That, Ryan Marine, is far less damage than it could have been.
Well, a common refrain all weekend long has been you typically don't get away with them here at CT&P. There aren't very many small accidents, but all things considered, that could have been a heck of a lot worse for John. Able to drive away from an accident, and that should just be a simple change of the nose, which at this point these teams are pretty accustomed to doing. Once that's taken care of, I don't know that there are any further ill effects, so that could have been a whole lot worse.
Albert Costa down on pit lane here in the Conquest Racing garage. Lorenzo Petresi, what a start. From 8th to 4th, you lost some of the lap times in qualifying, both for an incident in free practice 1 and a torque sensor issue, but you've really fought well on this start. How is now Lorenzo going to settle into the rest of the race?
Yeah, well, I'm so surprised with the start he did, because before the start we were talking, that it's going to be difficult to overtake here because the fast corners, and when you are behind a car, you are losing a lot of power from the. I'm listening to myself in the air, and it's difficult to speak. But yeah, you are missing a lot of aero balance, in the front when you are following a car. But surprisingly, Lorenzo did a superstar, and he get it back. What the problem we had yesterday in the qualifying. So very happy for him. We lost a position trying to go to P2, but it's part of the game. He's doing a fantastic job, and I hope he can fight for the podium at least.
You have fond memories of this track, winner here last year in GTD Pro. Have you been able to bring a lot of that knowledge over to the Conquest Racing team for 2026?
Well, difficult question, because to be honest, they are doing a really good job. They give me a really good car already in FP1, and yeah, they know more than me, so I'm learning from them.
When are you going to get in?
I cannot tell you, otherwise you will tell now. I think we will see, because the yellow is going to play, as you say, at the beginning of the race, a big game here today. So we will try to play a little bit the gamble, because we are here to fight for the championship, and we need to play the gamble to fight for the championship. So for sure, we're going to risk, but I really hope to be in the podium today, because we deserve it as a team.
Good luck.
Thank you, brother.
Down in the pit lane, Arjuna Kankapali with our driver database Inform Pit Lane reports. The all-new driver database, you can access it at driverdb.com. Some cool new features there, including the driver rankings. And if you are a driver, much as if you are an actor on IMDb, same sort of idea. You can go on there, you can personalise your page, you can add content, some of the socials, etc., etc. Put press releases on there if you want to. All the details at the all-new driverdb.com. John Ferrano has come into the pit lane, and he waited for the pits to open before he came into the pit lane. So there'll be this is not emergency service. They can do full service here, Ryan. That's actually smart moving smart thinking from the guys at Tower, but I can see some fluid underneath the car. That's not good news.
No, I fear I spoke too soon when I said there should be no more ill effects outside of the bodywork replacement. I do wonder where that fluid is coming from. It's not what you want to see, I'll put it that way. For the moment, they are going to send him out. I think, though, that message about the pit lane opening, I think that's going to be on the restart here, because we're still within the first 30 minutes, so this should still be a short full course yellow, if I'm understanding those regulations correctly. And you know what, for Ferrano, it doesn't really matter anyway, because they're taking that car back to the paddock.
Got you. Yeah, pits opening for all cars was called at 23:28, and John came in just about that time. We'll leave Tower to argue that point. Safety car has departed the circuit. We've got the green flag in the air with 2 hours, 20 minutes and 36 seconds to go as they cross the line. Sorry, really weird for that green flag. Marvellous stuff. And a beautiful jump away and restart from Jeremy Clark in the green and yellow into Europol car. The GDD Pros and the GDDs restarting as well. Opportunity perhaps for some places to be made up. Phil Fair just making up a position. He's gone ahead of PJ Hyatt. They're having a good scrap for 5th position. United number 2 running in a mostly white colourway again this weekend. Let's head down to the pit lane as Arjuna Kankapati has got 2 pit callers. One we might have expected, that was the Tower Motorsport car, that's now gone behind the wall. The other one, I have to say, I wasn't expecting Arjuna.
The number 64 Ford Mustang makes its way down to the lane. They had a bit of damage, John, as well on the left rear, and so I'm wondering if that was a precautionary change of the left rear tyre. All 4 tyres changed, fresh tank of fuel, and they've sent themselves back out, and crucially, stayed on the lead lap as well.
Yeah, they've dropped they've dropped pretty much the length of the Andretti straight and the S's behind the back of the GTD field, but well on the lead lap in class, and that's the key thing in terms of their race developing from here. Still well over 2 hours to go, just under 2 hours and 19 minutes. Jeremy Clark with some clear track ahead of him for a little while at least. He's got the length of the Andretti straight between him and that number 64 Ford. Ben Parker back out on the track. I have to say, I didn't see how that occurred, but it's surprised me that we actually didn't have a little more bumping and boring from that GT start with, 17 cars? No, actually, more than that, weren't there? The 20 cars that came through pretty much at the same time, 20-odd cars. The only car we've lost is that Tower Motorsport car. Thoughts on the opening stanza, Ryan Marine?
Well, I think that was an interesting first roll of the strategy dice from Ford Racing. Let's file that one away, because the intel I've received from GTD and GTD Pro teams is if you are committed to fuel saving, they can go upwards, just barely upwards of 70 minutes on a stint. So that's an hour and 10 minutes. You do that twice, that's 2 hours, 20 minutes. That's about when they pit it there. So I think they think with some fuel save, they might be able to do this on one stop. Some yellow would certainly help that cause, but I think that could potentially be doable. Elsewhere, I think PJ Hyatt's drive through the field has been notable. He got around Chris Cumming in that first stint just before the full course yellow and very nearly got Phil Thayer on this restart, but couldn't quite complete that pass, so that will stymie his progress up through the field slightly.
So what you're saying is Ben Parker has just put the fastest GT lap of the race in, by the way. He is in clear air, 1:16.776. They have done their splash, their last little stop. They've done it at the beginning and opened out their strategy. I like that.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think...
In fact, that's very cool.
I think effectively, John, if you wanted to be really aggressive, the window would have opened 12 minutes or so into the race, and we were well beyond that. So this is still an aggressive play, but look, the Fords haven't had a great deal of pace here this weekend, so I mean, they were running nose to tail at the back, effectively, of the GTD Pro field. So you might as well try something, split your strategy across the two cars, and let's file that one away and chart the progress as the race progresses.
Yeah, but already he's got a decent offset on the other cars in terms of how much fuel he's got on board. He's got a 13 lap differential, not 13 green laps, but 13 lap differential. So coming down to 1:30. Let's take the first of our VP Racing updates, and it's Jeremy Clark that leads on his 19th lap. Got the gap back up to about just under a second from Misha Goldberg into Europol, from Brian Hurd at Autosport, from United, Daniel Goldberg, then Phil Fair. The top four separated by 6 seconds, the whole of the P2 field by 12 seconds. In GTD Pro, it's Paul Miller Racing's BMW that leads, just crossed the line, 3/4 of a second ahead of the car that started on the outside of the front row. Young American driver Max Esterson, RLL Team McLaren. Then the two Corvette Sims from Katzberg in team number order and in place order as well, 3 and 4 and 3 and 4. Then Jack Hawksmith and Harry King are all going through as well, and there's none of those cars that I have just mentioned that are at more than a second away from each other. That's how tight it is there. In the GDD category, Paul Sitter, Gigi Barrichello for Harter Racing Aston, again 3/4 of a second ahead of the Lexus of Ben Pedersen, number 12. Danny Formale in third for Wayne Taylor Racing. That's the Dex Imaging Lamborghini. That's been the car on the move up to third. Lorenzo Patrese moving up to fourth as well. DXDT, Mason Filippi's dropped a couple of spots to fifth position ahead of Casper Stevenson for Dragon Speed. And then as the leaders are coming through that GTD traffic and GTD Pro traffic, the top 10 in GTD, Russell Ward for Winward Racing, Pat Gallagher for Turner Motorsport, Jake Walker for Gradient Racing in the silver number 66, and Brendan Aree for Inception in the bright yellow Ferrari number 70 is the best of the Bronze Club runners. That's how it stands. The leader is on lap number 20. The gap between Jeremy Clark and the field is now 1.3 seconds. That's your VP Racing update.
Lift your fuel, coolant and additives of IMSA.
So danger time again for all of the drivers, with the traffic playing a part, and there is just as much skill, Ryan Marie, to being passed as to doing the passing, particularly when you're in a GTD Pro or a GTD battle of your own.
Definitely, and a lot of it is about car placement, the message that you're sending to the faster class cars. You can kind of tell them, hey, not here, not now, with the way that you place your car on the track. But that said, a lot of this is up to the faster class cars. They dictate the time and place of these interclass overtakes, and I think for that reason it's more difficult to be in the slower class, because you don't have full control over the situation. Place the car however you like, but the P2s, if they decide to go, there's not much you can do about it.
Russell Ward just putting a power move on the sixth place machine of Casper Stevenson and pulling along Jake Walker and Patrick Gallagher as well. And that purple and green Dragon Speed Corvette just lost one place and almost lost a handful. Jake Walker round the outside tries the high line as they climb the hill at Quebec Corner. Couldn't make that work. Been a quiet weekend for Gradient. That's not necessarily a bad thing, Ryan.
No, that's true. They've kept their noses down, or their heads down rather, nose to the grindstone, and done their business. There have been others that have gotten some headlines, and not for all the best reasons, right? With the Conquest car and the Wright Motorsports car both taking significant damage in the practice sessions. They've been able to avoid that. Interesting dynamic, too, here for Walker, who has caught the back of that battle there with the Turner car of Gallagher. Remember, Walker was the endurance driver for Turner the last couple of years, so he knows that group extremely well, and that car for that matter.
Hello to everybody tuned in or listening on the PA at the track. Good to have your company. Hello to Kevin De Vries. Bit of a daddy-daughter day today, taking the race from the start-finish. His daughter's location choice, by the way. She's taking full advantage of AO Racing's merchandise trailer and free face painting. She's full spike now. Thanks, Kevin. And thanks to all of you trackside here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Fabulous, fabulous crowd. Absolutely chocker all the way around the circuit. I've never seen so many people up on the hill at Moss Corner, which is where Max Esterton and the battle for the lead is now in the GTD Pro category, and now running through the avenues of trees on the Mario Andretti straight over the first rise, now climbing to the second rise, heading towards turn 8, which is over the top of a third rise underneath the Canadian Tire walkover bridge. Now turn the car in right-handed and feed the power back in through turn 8. Swap to the left-hand side for turn 9. Got to come from the middle of the road though, because right corner comes up very, very quickly indeed. White's corner, the final right-hander, and across the line. Now into the plunging first corner. Careful on that red and white curb. There's a little bump just as you come to the exit. You can ride the green on the outside. It's not MotoGP. Don't get a penalty for that in this one. And as quickly as we've been talking about it, that is a full lap around the circuit. They go by quickly here, Ryan.
Yeah, they do really fast laps. For the prototypes, we're talking about just under 70 seconds. GT cars, 77, 78 seconds, something like that, to get around CT&P. So, yeah, really fast lap here, no matter what kind of machinery you're talking about. A couple of developments here just a moment ago. Number one, something happened to Nicky Katzberg on that lap, because he's dropped down to 6th in GTD Pro. He had been just behind his teammate Alexander Sims prior to that. Also, we saw the Car Blanche car make a pit stop. And again, I think this is a strategy call. They lost their track position earlier in the race with the run-in with Rexy. They aren't in it for a championship. This is their first weekend in the GTD Pro class, so they might be rolling the dice. And I think they can almost go full chat from here on one more stop. So I think that's a really interesting call and another one to keep an eye on.
Well, you've been doing the homework, I'll give you that. That's, again, we've had so many sessions that have been interrupted by red flags, but what I'm going to say this, and I don't want this to come out wrong, so I've got to choose my words very carefully. Putting out a red flag in a free practice or a qualifying session is very different to immediately putting out a safety car in the race. Obviously, safety is the first and only concern of race control when there's an incident. But as we saw earlier on with cars off the track, with the tower car in the wall, race control, if there is time and if there aren't cars about to come on the scene, they will give that time to allow the injured party perhaps to get that car pointed back in the right direction. Basically, I'm saying to let the incident develop before going for the big yellow button, which I know doesn't really exist, but in my mind it does. There's a big yellow button in race control that the race director hits, like when you're choosing someone that you're going to mentor on The Voice. It doesn't really exist like that, but you know exactly what I mean. More pit stops here. Arjuna can bring us up to date with the driver database informed pit lane report.
Spike, the Dragon, in and out of pit lane last time by John. Regular service for them, and I think CrowdStrike by APR following their cue. I think this might be splitting the minimum drive time for the bronze drivers in half in what is a hot and physical race. The 27 Hard of Racing team, the GTD car though, John, this is a disaster of a pit stop right now. First, the tire ran a little bit loose. They're struggling to get the tires actually swapped over right now. Already the fuel's being loaded into the car as they try and mount the right rear tire, get the wheel gun on it and drop it off the air jacks, and finally release Eduardo Barrichello.
That is the championship leading car, Ryan, and just proving that it's not only on the track where things can go wrong and where you've got to be absolutely clean on a championship challenge.
Yeah, they were in the pits about 20 seconds longer than they should have been, and so that's roughly a quarter of a lap around CTMP. So, yeah, that is a really big setback for them. They were leading when they came in. Again, I think they're in this window where they can pit, go on one more stop from here and not have to save fuel, and also cover off for a yellow potentially. But all of that is contingent on you getting your stop done quickly. It was always going to be a relatively short fill because we're not even halfway or roughly halfway through a fuel stint. So it was probably going to be tire dependent in terms of the time spent at the pit stop anyway. You really need the pit crew to execute, and for whatever reason, that one went sideways. Oh, and it just got worse.
That's a good point as well, mate. Well, yes.
Because they just had too many crew over the wall as well.
So that will be a drive-through. They're going to lose the lead lap on that. LMP2 drive time. Arjuna mentioned that we are so used to talking about drive time that sometimes we sort of put it to one side. However, with the LMP2 being a Pro-Am category, it is absolutely imperative you get that one right as well.
Yeah, it's huge. So 60 minutes for the P2 class. GTD Pro only 10-minute minimum drive time. GTD is 45 minutes. That's why I think we'll see a lot of the GTD class wait until they get to that point. But, for the likes of Barrichello, Heart of Racing, they've got Roman DeAngelis waiting in the wings, so they don't have a big delta in pace performance there. That allows them to open up their strategy somewhat. But you're right, you have to calculate that appropriately, and you have to take into account that time spent in the pit lane does not count toward that driver's drive time.
Yeah, very good point. Barrichello miles off then, and they've had a really good record here. A pole, 2 wins and 4 top 5 finishes in the last visits here. The car went up on the jacks okay. There was a tyre sort of going around. That was all right. It was caught. But the left rear, first of all, was struggling. Was Dudu too close to the wall, maybe? No. He's in his spot. But that left rear then basically meant that the right rear wasn't there when it needed to be. They had to change a gun. They had to change the air gun. Their tyre wasn't on. That was what caused all of the problems. Fueled, ready, but they just couldn't get that left rear. And an absolute nightmare. He's just been through the pits for that drive-through penalty as well. And he's dropped down to 31st. And now over a full lap off. In fact, he's the sharp end of 2 laps, isn't he, down on the GTD leader. That is an absolute disaster for Heart of Racing. And the number 27, Aston Martin, Sarah Rigby, will not be happy. Sarah, Aston's biggest fan. Let's get back to the front of the GTD Pro field. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Martin. Up in Crewe in the northwest of England. Enjoying some lovely weather. Crewe, of course, the home of Bentley. We love to see those guys back racing again. Neil Verhagen, Max Esterson. How about Max Esterson, by the way, Ryan, has given Neil Verhagen absolutely nothing at all, still within a second. Verhagen and De Filippi, as it stands, lead on 100 with 115 points back to the Garcia and Sims cars. We've got some pit stop starting. I'll come back to Max Esterson in a minute. Let's go down to Arjuna in the pit lane.
It's a driver change, John, in GTD Pro. You guys called out just 10 minutes minimum drive time, and so strap Tommy Milner into that car. Nicky Katzberg gets out, and that is a almost perfectly executed pit stop. In fact, I spoke too soon. The car now struggling to fire off and away. The door open, and finally Tommy Milner out onto track.
Again, 5 or 6 seconds. What you want is for the tyres and the driver change to be done. If you are changing drivers and tyres, you should only be waiting for the fuel. And if you can do that, then that's a perfect stop. Was that a 2 or a 4 tyre stop, Arjuna? I wonder if you can find out for us. Meantime, I'll go back to my point, Ryan, about Max Esterson. He has lost nothing at all against Neil Verhagen, who knows the car, knows the track, knows the team. And there you've got a McLaren with RLL the first time they've been here. Max the first time he's been here. Although he's done some sim work. And he's still holding on with just on a second between him and Neil Verhagen.
It's been one of the great stories of the weekend so far. I absolutely love to see what this team has done. I hope that they can put it all together and get a good result, because there have been times this year, we've talked about it during races, that their pace has been strong. They've been top 5, top 3 worthy at various points, but they've had difficulty putting a full race together for whatever reason. And there have been a whole laundry list of reasons over the course of the season. But this has been their best showing, because they started off on the back foot, lost a good chunk of that first practice as they were chasing a technical problem. It turned out to be software related. That wasn't what they initially thought the problem might be. They were stationary for a whole chunk of it, and the team and drivers both desperately needed as much track time as they could get. But, yeah, it seems like they've got it figured out, and that car has been super quick as Esterson makes the dive to the pit lane.
5 minutes to the pit lane, or driver time, should I say, for GTD Pro. 40 minutes a lap, 45 is what we got. Hi to Samantha Sparks in the Sparks clan, watching in Portugal. The Algarve supporting CrowdStrike by APR, always. Well, the APR stands for Algarve Pro Racing, so that makes perfect sense. Hello, everybody. What is it? 7:45 in Portugal. You're on British Summer Time as well, same time zone as the UK. Esterson in the pit lane, the car moving, and TDS in the wall. The number 11 car of Toby Lutke couldn't get reversed there. He's spinning his wheels up. He was in first gear with the nose against the wall, and it's a full course yellow, and Esterson has just pitted. That is absolutely outstanding. An hour and 58, call it an hour and 59 minutes to go. The 2026 Ford F-150 Raptor was on the scene whilst the dust was still settling almost. AMR safety crew are there. And Ryan Marine, 2 hours to go, 40 minutes gone. This is a very interesting time for the safety car intervention, and Esterson and RLL might have just actually won the lottery there.
I think this works great for them. I haven't thought through the permutations for P2, but for the GT classes, this is pretty cut and dry. Everyone who has pitted has one more stop. Everyone who hasn't pitted will pit here and have one more stop. And so therefore, those that have pitted already should cycle up ahead of those that had stayed out until this point. It also comes at a time, by the time we get the GT stops, John, we should be past 45 minutes into the race, no question. And that's important because that means minimum drive time will be done for the GTD cars as well. So again, I think that makes it pretty straightforward here, especially for the Bronze Cup runners or those going for the Aiken Award to come in, get the bronze drivers out at this first opportunity. They've met their drive time, and then turn it over to the pros to fight it out the rest of the way.
The TDS car's out of the wall. It's not quite firing up. It's got some nose damage, bodywork damage, but it looks like the wheels are pointing in the right direction. I think I neglected to tell you it was the exit of turn 8 into turn 9, and it looked like Toby just understeered off and went straight into the tyre barriers, which were holding the car back. Lots of dust being thrown up from the back of that car as he tried to reverse out, but I think he'd actually put it, in fact I'm sure he'd put that in first gear rather than reverse, and now he's getting out the car. So that is going to be a retirement for TDS and Toby Lutke. Talking, he got out the car himself, he's fine. He's talking to the AMR safety team, and hello to all of them. I know they're tuned in on Sirius XM 206. Around the world on RS2, part of the Radio Show Limited network of channels. Every session of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship available for you, whether you're in Canada, the US, or further afield. And of course, if you do not have a US IP, you can also follow along with our World Feed TV presentation. You'll find that on IMSARadio.com as well via the video player tab, or you can go to the official IMSA YouTube channel and follow along there. Those of you that do have a US IP, it's our colleagues at NBC Sports on Peacock who are looking after you with the video this weekend. And if you haven't subscribed to that, you can always get the audio wherever you are around the world. Waiting to see if the pits open. They are. Pits have been opened for the prototypes. The pass around is complete, so we've made sure that anybody who was split off from their class is not disadvantaged. There is our leader. Safety car 1 coming through turn 8 at the moment. This is massive, I think, for that number 59 RLL car. I really do. They've got a couple of cars ahead of them, so they can't speed round the track. Here come the leaders, and Arjuna, you've got company, because the top 5 have come into the pit lane. I'm waiting to see if PJ Hyatt comes in as well. Yes, he does. So there's only George Kurtz from CrowdStrike. Does he peel into the pit lane? I'll tell you that in a moment as you describe the pit stops.
No surprise, John, to me that the teams that did not make a pit stop already are going to throw a set of scrub tyres on for their bronze drivers. I'm seeing that George Kurtz rolls around and does the opposite of PJ Hyatt, though. So as Spike the Dragon gets a top off of the fuel, no tyres for them. It is going to be a race off of pit lane. First to roll is PR1 and Brian Herder, just in front of Inter Europol. But it's Spike the Dragon that is going to win the race off of pit lane. And after starting at the back, PJ Hyatt now up into second.
Incredible how things can turn around. So George Kurtz stayed outright. He had already been down the lane before this yellow, and at exactly the time I need to find that piece of paper, I can't, but I'm betting on the fact that you made a note of when George Kurtz and the 04 Spike the Dragon came down the pit lane.
Yeah, it was about 13 minutes ago. There were 2 hours, 6 minutes, 35 seconds left in the race at that time. PJ Hyatt would have pitted around that same time as well. Little surprised that CrowdStrike by APR didn't have George come in and do what AO did and just top that car up. That was going to be a shorter stop than basically everybody else in the field. PJ and company, they must have known that, so they came in topped up. Everybody else was taking tires, had a longer fill, so he was able to jump them. What this does do for Kurtz, though, is it gives them clean air for the first time, puts them out in front of the rest of the P2 class, but their window is now narrower than the AO Racing number 99 that did pit this time.
Hello to everybody at Moss Corner, particularly the SRN race crew. Steve Kelly with them for his first ever race at CTMP. Great crowd, great venue for summer racing. And a spin behind the safety car for Misha Goldberg in the Brian Herder Autosport machine. He's going to get that pointing in the right direction as the pits are open for GT. So let's go down to Arjuna.
And almost everybody that I can see from my vantage point is going to do a driver change alongside a set of sticker Michelin tires. What a pit stop from Vassar Sullivan Racing. The number 14 is going to fire off first. Close behind is going to be Paul Miller Racing's BMW. Decent stop as well for Claude Blanche. Oh, very close on the merge off of pit lane, though. Pratt Miller Corvettes, I think, going to lose out as they try and filter down to the RFID boards.
I think it was the 13 Autosport machine that pushed them out. It was certainly something that was red. No, it can't have been that. Or if Adani still scored as in the pit lane, but it was very tight indeed. And there are severe penalties if you hit the RFID transponders down there. Michelin embed an RFID chip into every single one of their racing tyres. It's a piece of technology that they've taken from their colleagues. It's been around for a while now, and they're taking it from their colleagues in truck and trailer tyres, the heavy goods vehicle tyres, and that means that we can, or they can tell exactly what tyre is on the car at any one time. Very bizarre spin, by the way, from that number 52, Misha Goldberg, who was hustling back around, trying to get back onto the back of the P2 field. Hello to Moss Corner, you're on camera. Wave to the world, get your hands in the air. I know you can hear us up there on the PA system. Thank you. The RFID chips are great. We actually get, in the WEC, we get information for which tyres on which corner of the cars and how many laps they've done. It's not always 100% right, which is why we don't have it here in IMSA, but also in FIA WEC, there's a choice of compounds as well from the Michelin tyres, so it's always handy to know that. We've got the opportunity to speak to some drivers who've got out of cars. Then we'll reset the order for you before we go green. Let's go down to Corvette, which is where Arjuna is. Alex Sims started his Chevrolet Corvette.
Near pit exit, but that hasn't quite worked out as they drop to the tail end, unfortunately, on the pit sequence. Alex, let's talk about that opening stint, though. How was the car? How were the tyres?
Our Corvette was working well. Just sat behind the McLaren, who in turn was sat behind the BMW. We're all just managing our races as we do, trying to be smart on fuel and things, but that looked like one of the wheel guns was slow. And I don't know exactly, but it looks like we dropped to the back of the field, unfortunately, when we were running very comfortably in third. But anyway, that's what it is.
How was the dirty air? You only had a couple of cars in front of you, but was that something that was impacting the front tyres?
Yeah, pretty hugely, honestly. The difference between being set up behind another car and then having, a 10 or so car length gap is a huge difference to how the car works. All these GT3 cars are, despite not being the most aerodynamically advanced, you still have quite a big impact in terms of suffering from loss of downforce when you're close to another one. So, same for everybody. Hopefully we can get our Corvette back up the field, because we've got the pace to be. But that's IMSA racing. Thanks, Al. Cheers.
Let's have a look at how they line up, and I think we'll let Ryan Marine give you the rundown before we go back to green.
Alrighty then, so an LMP2, by virtue of staying out, George Kurtz is the leader in that class. PJ Hyatt will restart in second place. Jeremy Clark won that race off pit road in LMP2. That spin for Goikberg was costly because it dropped him all the way back to the end of P2, down to 7th. Nikita Johnson restarts at the front of GTD Pro, and Ben Peterson restarts at the lead of GTD as the green flag waves with just under an hour and 50 minutes to go at CT. It's George Kurtz leading the LMP2 charge down the hill. PJ Hyatt, though, hustling just behind with Jeremy Clark, trying to keep pace with the top two in the class. Continuing their fight at the bottom of the hill. Hyatt closing in.
GT's battling as well, Ryan, as they came over the top of the brow with everybody back together. And the DXTT car in the pit lane getting some remedial work. Remember, this car has been rebuilt entirely after the trailer fire. Kurtz, that stayed out, leads, and he has held on to the lead at the front of the field. It's Barnicott, Johnson, Tandy. Nick Tandy, after not great weekend, Porsche and EO Racing have pulled a strategic masterclass. Nikita Johnson in the RLL McLaren is still in second. Ben Barnicat, the Lexus team, did a great turnaround as well, as did Wayne Taylor Racing for the Lamborghini Huracan 45. And Phil Ellis now in the Winwood Racing AMG. That car's got some pace. Ben Pedersen in third for Vassar Sullivan and Albert Costa for Conquest. A huge change around in the GT classes after those pit stops, Ryan.
Yeah, huge for sure. And you're right about Vassar Sullivan. They were about 3 seconds faster than the next fastest team on the pit lane there. That helped them get that track position. But those that had those pit stops prior to the yellow, they're the ones that really have benefited from this situation. Also, again, I don't know if this was strategy. I don't know if it was just quick pit work, but to see Hindman up at the front of GTD, Ellis right there as well. Really great job by those two teams to get those cars there. But interestingly, we've seen Barnicoat now get by Nikita Johnson, so Lexus now leading in GTD Pro. Nevertheless, that worked pretty darn well for the Rahal guys to get the McLaren to the front of the field. Johnson now in that car trying to get into his rhythm, but losing out on that one spot there on the restart to Barnicoat.
So the whole thing has been reset, and with an hour and 45 minutes, that's what are we talking about? We're talking about 145 minutes to go, and pretty much everybody bar George Kurtz came in at that last or around that last yellow flag. And I'm just pausing for a second because there was a bit of side-by-side action there from the number 99 of PJ Hyatt, and Phil Thayer dropping. Now Phil Thayer's made up a position. That's what has thrown me out. He's gone past Chris Cumming. And where's Jeremy Clark gone? Oh no, he's there as well. Jeremy Clark is in there. Oh, yeah, PJ went wide. PJ went wide at the bottom of the hill and has dropped a couple of positions. He's dropped back behind Phil Thayer, got a big wiggle on at the bottom of Clayton Corner. That's what I was seeing, him coming back on to the track. He's done really well to keep that away from the wall. I feel like a dinosaur when I say this, Ryan, but back in the old days, he'd have been on the grass down there, and I'm not sure he would have got that back.
Yeah, he'll be happy that that part of the track was paved, and it's not the old days right now. That could have had major implications, and that's why that part of the track was paved. It was done for safety reasons, and Hyatt used that extra pavement to save the car, and now getting back in the rhythm. It's been a good recovery even still for that car. Remember, they had to start out back because of the penalty after qualifying, failing post-qualifying tech, and by combination of pace and strategy, they still find themselves up in podium contention here.
Restart is being reviewed by race control. Now, that is standard operational procedure. We'll keep an eye and an ear to race control to find out what, if anything, has caught their eye there. Remember TDS Racing, the number 11 car, Toby Ludke. That car went behind the wall early on, or that car stopped rather early on. And John Ferrano's had his trials as well in the Oreca for Tower. But it appears that that car with the new nose is still running. So that's good news for them, although they've dropped 9 laps on the P2 leading battle. Callum Eilert now behind the wheel of the Porsche of Wright Motorsport, the number 120 car. Coming through the final corner, down the front straight, passing the Strigan Corvette of DXDT. That car was in the pit lane for a very long time. Arjuna Kankapati can give us a driver database informed pit lane report.
We talked about the fact that the car and the team have had to rebuild since the trailer fire, John, but the hand control system for Robert Wickens during the driver change, one of the throttle springs unfortunately came off, and so had to bring the car back down to pit lane. They've lost 2 laps in the course of repairing that, and I had a quick chat with Mason and Felipe. Even though they lost a bit of track position on the start, they were in a great spot. Fast car with energy saving in hand as well. If they get those laps back, they could still be a contender.
I can tell you there's absolutely nothing wrong with that hand control system now, and I know that without fear of contradiction, gentlemen, because Robert Wickens has just put in the fastest GTD lap of the race, 1:16.931, and that is a purple time on the screen. That signifies quicker than anybody else. He still got it. Meantime, we have got a penalty on the restart, Ryan.
Giacomo Altoe has been found guilty of a jumped restart, so he'll have to relinquish 6th place in GTD and make a trip through the pit lane as a consequence of that penalty. One other thing to cover off, so Wickens lost a couple of laps with that prolonged stay in the pit lane, but a car that's back on the lead lap now is Dudu Barrichello. They stayed out and thereby got the wave around under that most recent full course yellow, and already Dudu's made up a couple of spots up into 10th place, but they have less energy in that virtual tank than the rest of the GTD cars, so they'll be a bit hamstrung strategically from here on out, but at least they're back on level playing with the leaders in their class.
9th in GTD Pro, Ben Barker, Ford Racing. For the Ford GT, hasn't really been there weekend here either, which is a bit odd. Ben's got the fastest lap in GT, a 16.0 in that number 64 car. So the car has got 1 lap pace. I wonder if it's one of the case of one of these where you sometimes see the drivers say, well, I can get the lap in clean air, but it's not working in traffic. The Evolution version of the Mustang GT3, generally speaking, has been better everywhere it's gone, and I rather expected, Ryan, if I'm being truthful, that this track would suit it, to be honest, because it's fast, it's flowing, and the Evo kit seems to have worked best at those types of circuit. It may be a little bit more draggy in a straight line, but through the medium, fast and fast corners, it's been paying dividends so far this year.
Yeah, it has, just not here for whatever reason this weekend. They've not been particularly quick in the practices, didn't qualify terribly well, good strategy and execution really in the pit lane is what it's been for the 65 car that's got it up to 5th. Interesting to me that the 64 effectively bailed on that strategy that we talked about earlier. Remember, they made that really quick dive into the pit lane in that opening stint, 15-20 minutes or so into the race, and I suspect they needed the race to stay green for that strategy to bear fruit, and it didn't. So they are now reset back onto the same strategy as the rest of the class at this point. One other strategic note to watch, though, is we are 2 minutes away from the starting LMP2 drivers having fulfilled their drive time. George Kurtz is in the pits right now, but on my chart, I'm seeing him only as having done 58 minutes because, again, time spent in the pit lane doesn't count. So I'm a little curious if they're actually at his minimum drive time or not, but they seem to think he is because Alex Quinn is about to jump in.
An hour and 2 minutes now has elapsed, so it'll depend. Is that why he didn't come down the pit lane again during that last yellow? Because that is only his second time into the pit lane. Yeah, it's only the second time into the pit lane. Super pit stop, Arjuna. You were watching it. They're all the way down at pit out, and Alex Quinn installed, and that car seemingly stopped for mere seconds.
That seemed about as perfect a pit stop as you can get, John. The way that the tyres and fuel were coordinated so well, and I think Ryan's quite right to question if they did make drive time. However, I would put it forward that the team might not pull the driver out if they did not have some confidence with just the one pit stop that they made. And I can tell you, lots more LMP2 teams starting to take notice, and the second drivers got their helmets on up and down pit lane.
Well, 96 minutes, call it 97 minutes to the end of the race. We are right, surely, Ryan, now we are right in the window, even for the P2 cars, which do have a smaller fuel capacity. This one and one more from here?
Yes, no question about it. I think with a fuel save, they can do 50 or so minutes, so they are within the window of being able to do this on one more stop.
And there are a couple of cars in the pit lane. Driver database informed report from Arjuna.
It's United Autosport, a good pit stop for the number 2, that white LMP2 entry. A lot slower, unfortunately, for the number 22, as I think they try to strap Ben Hanley into that car. Finally, the belts have been ratcheted on, and off and away the 22 goes.
And here comes the leader down towards you now, Jeremy Clark, followed in by PJ Hyatt. He's got himself back into contention after dropping away, having to start at the back, fought his way up, went off the track, fought his way back. Leading pair in the pit lane, the 52 Brian Herter Autosport car has gone through, so Misha Goikberg becomes another leader of the LMP2 class. All looks pretty good. Driver changes going on. The Europol car has dropped. That was tight on the driver, but they've got it done. They lost no time at all now. Spikes down. They're still waiting. It goes through. Alex Quinn, crowd strike by APR. First flying lap has put the fastest lap of the race in, a 1:09.0. Game on now, Ryan. Game on for the next hour and 35.
It is, and this is why we love LMP2. The bronzes have a big part to play, and you get all of these top-line pros that climb aboard for the run to the checkered flag. I do want to highlight... hang on, we'll get to that in a second.
That's the 66 gradient car going for a wild ride, coming through the S's. 8 into 9. He sort of went off at 8.5 and came back at 9.25, I think. Didn't quite take the prescribed line in that silver bullet number 66. It's Corey Lewis behind the wheel of that car, having taken it over. And that was 1, 2, 3 cars trying to go wide. The Dragon Speed car was involved there. Dudu Barrichello, Callum Island, they were all having a big scrap. And in fact, it was one of the prototypes as well that was right there. That was a bit earlier on, actually, round at Moss Corner, and Matt Bell just getting into the back of the prototype of Misha Goikberg, who's the current leader of the race. Then there was a bit of hip and shoulder on the Corey Lewis car. The tall Geordie from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England in the red and white car, which still must irk him. Getting a bit physical there. Dudu Barrichello right in behind. Then coming through turn 8. Oh, big wiggle from Matthew there. And that's what started it. Now, did the tyre give way, or did something break, or was it just the side-by-side aero as they came into turn 8? Not sure. Could have been any one of those things. Dudu Barrichello was in a smashing spot to see it, but it was very tight, and making the best of it in going through the Ford Mustang of Felipe Fraga, who made up at least 3 places with an opportunist overtaking manoeuvre at high speed.
Yeah, that was right place, right time for Felipe. Did well to come through there and pick up those positions. That's about as easy of a position gain as you're ever going to have around this track, which is notoriously difficult to pass on. Just before all of that broke out, I wanted to highlight this. Look, my data is not official, but the data service I'm looking at says George Kurtz has only done 59 minutes and 3 seconds of drive time. Minimum drive time is 60 minutes. So And that factors in time spent in the pits, by the way. This software does. So
yeah.
That to me is a red flag, but I would like to give the team, which is a great team, APR, the benefit of the doubt, and maybe they know something I do not.
It's not a problem now, it only becomes a problem at the end of the race, but it does mean they might have to put him back in again. And I know Justin Triggers will be listening in, so we'll see if we can get something on a running clock from them as well. Back down to Arjuna. Opportunity now with Misha Goikberg still leading and carving his way through the GT traffic to speak to some of the drivers who've just got out of the cars. Where are you, Arjuna?
Made my way down to Winwood Racing, and it sounds like a good pit stop for Russell Ward after a decent opening stint as well. How's it been going, Russell?
Yeah, look, I mean, Philip did a great job at that restart, managed to get a couple of spots, and, the team's doing a great job. Did a little bit of fuel saving on my stint, and, I think that really paid off, and we're able to jump one or two cars, and then, had a great restart. So, we're back up at the front, and, Philip's doing a great job.
How are these restarts stuck behind some of the GTD Pro cars? It's been something we've talked about over the last 18 months. Is this one of the tracks where that situation is the hardest to navigate?
Yeah, I mean, it really ruins the racing in GTD, to be honest. I mean, it's just bullshit, so that's the way it is.
Thanks, Russell. Good luck.
Thanks.
Apologies for the language. A warning for Dudu Barrichello in that incident with Matt Bell and Corey Lewis at turn 8. That, I have to say, I didn't see that. That must mean that that race control have seen a tap on the back of Matt Bell that unsettled that red and white Corvette. So there you go. That is how it stands, and he's managed to get a warning for that rather than anything more substantial, important for the championship leader. So Alex Quinn took over the CrowdStrike 04 car, immediately put the fastest lap of the race in, and now he's only 13 seconds away from the leader and lapping 3.5 seconds quicker than Misha Goikberg. Now, Misha owes us a stop. How far into the race can Misha go in terms, because it's a slightly different strategy for that car. Remember, they've only done one pit stop at the moment. But Alex Quinn, the fastest farmer in the West, lovely lad, absolutely smashing lad. Spent some time talking to him at Le Mans, hadn't really done much chatting to him before then, but he is great. A long interview with him, which is on the archive at radiolemans.com actually, if you go back to it. Of course, he's a very experienced driver indeed, has raced single seaters to a pretty high level, and he understands the endurance racing etiquette and indeed the mindset. And he is closing down on the leader at the moment. 13.3 last time around. He's hit a bit of traffic, so some of that time has gone away. In GTD Pro, Ben Barnegat by 2 seconds. It's only really, Ryan, the Vassar Sullivan super quick pit stop in that yellow flag that stopped RLL Team McLaren from getting the full benefit of pitting the lap before the yellow flag came out.
Well, I think actually this is more about Ben making a pass on track, because Nikita did restart, as I recall, at the head of the class. Ben won the race off of pit road, but Nikita didn't pit, having pitted already prior to that full course yellow. I guess it wasn't Nikita, of course, driving at the time. That was Max Esterson. I suspect, though, part of the reason Vassar Sullivan was so quick is that they may have short-filled, because they're down to 63% energy in their car. Everyone else who pitted during that sequence is between 67 and 70%. So that's about a 5% difference there. And that could have been part of the reason why they were so quick in the lane and helped them to grab some of that track position.
Yes, very good point. That is, we do get the virtual fuel tank for the GT cars now, even though we don't have the GTPs. If you want to follow along with that, just search for IMSA telemetry and you'll find all of the information that you want. And if you want to follow along with the live timing and scoring, live timing IMSA Al Kamel, that will get you to the results, all of the decisions actually as well from race control. Exactly, if you were trackside back in my early days around the track, you used to pop to the bottom of race control tower or wherever, at whatever circuit you were at, and there'd be a little wooden area that looked like where people were getting their post, and what it was, all the bulletins in there, all the lap times from each of the sessions all printed out. Well, now that's all available for you to look at online, thanks to our hard-working colleagues at Al Kamel. Busy weekend for them. They'll have their teams all over the world. Our Junior Kanka party, we are just over halfway through this race. Let's have your impressions so far of what you've seen on the pit lane and what you are seeing now in terms of teams getting ready, because we're in the crucial part of the race now. These are the money laps to the checkered flag.
The LMP2 class is really poised on a knife edge, John, but really interesting that Brian Herter Autosport with PR1 left Misha Goikhberg out there for so long. Ricky Taylor was really fast in practice in that car, and so maybe saving him until the end, but with all the other fast drivers in the P2 cars, seeing the gap slowly start to shrink. In GTD, looking up and down the running order, some frustration on some sides. We spoke to Alexander Sims and the number 3 Pratt & Miller Corvette slightly earlier on, but then there are the likes of the Vassar Sullivan 14 who have used their great pit stop strategy to cycle up toward the front of the field. Can also give you some good news, John. The Tower Motorsports number 8, it's back on track.
Oh, well done. In fact, actually, they came back out and then went back in and then came back out again. It's Sebastian Alvarez behind the wheel of that car. 33 laps for the leading car at its last run through. So that was basically from the start of the race. Now, there's still plenty of racing for Ricky Taylor to do, but at the moment I reckon he's on 20-21 laps. So if he needs to, if they feel that they need to, they could push Misha on for, let's say, another 10-15 minutes, maybe even more. The question is, for me at that point, would Ricky be able to go home from that point, Ryan, if that's what happened?
Well, that's what they'll be trying to gauge here. I'm with Arjuna. I'm scratching my head and trying to figure out what I'm missing with this strategy, especially when you have Ricky Taylor, who's been the fastest LMP2 driver this weekend, waiting, and you're giving him fewer opportunities to get behind the wheel. Part of it is Misha's had some pretty decent pace, but Quinn right now is going on a tear, and he's quickly eating into this lead that Goikhberg has. As for how far they can go, it's been 31 minutes or thereabouts since the last pit stop. A typical full push stint is about 46 minutes, so that would say 15 more, but again, we had some yellow in there too. So a little bit at least before the restart, so maybe we could go as far as 20 more minutes, but then you're trying to make it an hour on a tank. Even if they're able to go 25 minutes more on this tank somehow, you're still talking about upwards of 50 minutes to try and make it to the end. So I'm not entirely sure what the strategy is, quite frankly, for the 52, and yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I'm missing that they're seeing.
Yeah, and the point is there, if you're going to put Ricky Taylor in, the last thing you're going to want to ask him to do, surely, is fuel save. You
Correct.
want him full speed for as long as possible. And getting him in at the first possible moment, I'm not sure. 109.0 for Tom Dillman, that's a decent lap for him last time around. 108.7 is the best, he was going through traffic by the way, is the best of anybody. And that goes to Alex Quinn, who's Tom is right with now. So Crowdstrike into Europol are having a cracking scrap for second place. They're some 17 seconds behind the leader at the moment. As we come down to the halfway point of the race. We started with 2 hours and 40 minutes on the clock. Near enough halfway through. So here is our Pelotti mid-race recap. 58 laps completed. Misha Gottberg leads. 2 cautions for 6 laps. We effectively have got no cars that have officially retired, but Toby Lutgen in the TDS racing car has been out of contention for quite some time. Completed 30 laps, so is 29 laps away. As the leader comes into the pit lane, that's your Pelotti mid-race recap. Misha Gottberg, this is the time. Arjuna.
Now do the driver change, put Ricky Taylor in. Unfortunately, I'm at the other end of pit lane, catching up with Danny Formal. The Wayne Taylor Dex Imaging Lamborghini sits second on track and in a really good spot, Danny.
Yeah, no, first of all, I want to thank the guys. FP1, we were dead last, P13, and obviously we were all shocked. We all put our heads together on Friday night, and we said we're never going to give up, and kind of similar last year. And the guys in the WTR, we've known this car now for 3 years, and we just went back to the drawing board, and we got a great car, FP2. We ended, fighting up there. So got a decent qualifying yesterday, nothing special. But yeah, luckily I got a really nice start, was able to go to P3, and then the 27 guys, I think we're going for a different strategy, and we're running P2. And then just a lot of fuel saving and trying to give the car a trend as good as possible. And yeah, we were able to jump the 12 guys in the pits. The guys did an incredible pit stop, and now we're going P2. We got clear at leaving turn 5. We got cleared before halfway down the straight, but we're trying our hardest out there. Trent's doing a fantastic job. The team's doing a fantastic job, and yeah, an hour and 20 minutes to go. We'll see what we can do.
You alluded to it, you won here last year. What do you need to do to repeat that?
I just keep on pushing, keep on saving, and these races are so crazy. For some reason in Mosport, the last 30 minutes is always crazy. A lot of yellows, a lot of chaos. So yeah, keep our nose clean, keep saving energy. Great pit stops by the guys, and hopefully we could be fighting at the end. Good luck. Thank you.
Good to hear from Danny Formal. Right now, second in GTD. Trent Hidman at the controls. Thanks to Arjuna for tracking that down. That pit stop, by the way, for Misha Goldberg has dropped Brian Herta Autosport to the back of the LMP2 class. One thing that they were going to have to think about before too much longer was making sure they saved 60 minutes of drive time for Ricky Taylor. The minimum drive time works both ways. It's not just for the bronze driver in LMP2. They're in good shape there. Effectively, what they've done is split these final 2 stints kind of down the middle. So one way where this could help them is if the final stop were to happen under yellow, everybody's bunched up again, they'd have a shorter fill and shorter stop than the rest of the class, and that might allow them to get some track position. But I think what you're seeing here is the cost of having their bronze in the car up against all these pros, and that's cost them significant track position here on this stint. We'll see how that plays out. Still plenty of time to go with an hour, 17 minutes on the clock, and a few more twists in the tail, as they say, before this one's all said and done.
It's Ryan Marine and John Hindhoff in the Ford Racing Global Podcast Centre. Don't forget, at the end of the race, the checkered flag ends the competition but starts the conversation, and you can shape the Michelin Post-Race Tech Show by getting in touch with us. Hashtag Michelin PRT. Questions, things that you've noticed, points arising. Just get in touch with us via X. It's at IMSA Radio. Hashtag Michelin PRT. We'll try and get a few driver interviews and answer some of those questions. We're also looking for a BDO Nose Strategy Award. One award across the 3 classes. Right now, Asa Sullivan, yeah, they turned their car around quickly. That was pretty tidy. If Brian Hurd at Autosport get back to the front again, you've got to say they've seen something that we didn't, and maybe that is the fact that they know strategy better than we do. So maybe them. Winward Racing, they've done a good job now leading in GTD with Phil Ellis. And also, I think you've got to say AO Racing as well, as we've got the number 2 United Autosport Mikkel Jensen car off into the wall. An hour and 16 minutes to go. Now, you can't get home from here as a P2. If this goes yellow now, there will have to be some big decisions made. We'll take a VP in-race update in a moment, but this could be massive. Off at turn 8, again, across that relatively newly paved area, well, probably in the last 10 years. Oh, he's got it into reverse. He's extricated the nose of that car from underneath the tyre barrier. There's going to be damage there. It'll be a new nose, but he's only got a couple of 100 metres to get back onto the track and into the pit lane. Bullet potentially dodged there for anybody. I bet there was a few twitchy fingers on radio buttons there, particularly for the GT cars. He's made it to the pit lane. Arjuna will watch him come down. As he does that, let's go for our VP in-race update.
VP Racing, the official fuel, coolant and additives of IMSA.
Let's start at the top of the shop. CrowdStrike leading by just half a second. Tom Dillman and Alex Quinn having a cracking scrap. They are in the traffic at the moment as well, just going through to Moss Corner. Dane Cameron 4 seconds further back. Pietro Fittipaldi, a big gap back to him, 17 seconds in the Pratt Miller Motorsport car. Then the top 6 made up by Ben Hanley and Ricky Taylor. The whole field only spread by half a minute in LMP2, with Mikkel Jensen now in the pit lane. GTD Pro, Ben Barnicat, Vassar Sullivan Racing by about 7 seconds from Nikita Johnson in RLL Team McLaren. Then it's Nick Tandy, who is right on the back of that McLaren GT3, scrapping away in the 77. Rexy Connor De Filippi is another second further back, and he's got 2.5 seconds on Christopher Meese, having another good run for Ford. Didn't end well for him last time out, but he was up at the sharp end in that number 65 Ford Mustang GT. And Pfaff Motorsport have Andrea Caldarelli in 6th in their Temerario Lamborghini. Phil Ellis leads GET for Winward Racing by round about 3 seconds from Trent Hinman in the Lamborghini Huracan of Wayne Taylor Racing, which has Trent Hinman driving that car at the moment. Aaron Tielitz for Lexus in 3rd position. Albert Costa for Conquest, and Ferrari in 4th. That's the number 34 light blue, white and black car. Best of the Bronze Cup runners for the Aitken Award is Fred Schandorf for Inception. He's in 5th. He's got half a second on Robbie Foley for Turner Motorsport. That's your VP in race update. And we have an hour and 13 minutes remaining. This battle at the front of the field, absolutely mouth-watering. Coming onto the front straight now, Ryan.
Yeah, really good stuff. Quinn chasing down Dillman. These are two guys that are on an upward trajectory right now. Quinn in particular really skyrocketing in the esteem of sports car fans, teams, manufacturers, part of the Peugeot young driver lineup. Might there be a place for him in the World Endurance Championship in the future? and he's got a chance to test himself against one of the absolute best in the world right now in an LMP2 car, Tom Dillman, who is in a very similar position here 1 year ago, John. They were leading this race. Something broke on the car. Heavy impact for Tom. Suffered multiple fractures in his back. It actually cost him a race. Had to sit out the next round at Road America last year. So this is a giant slaying moment of sorts for Tom Dillman, looking for a bit of redemption, coming back to CTMP at the site of such disappointment and pain a year ago.
Down to the pit lane for driver database informed update. Here's Arjuna.
The number 2 car, they did replace the front of the car. However, I think dropping some fluids, they are heading to the garage area to fix up the damaged United Autosport machine. A rare mistake from Mikkel Jensen.
And that car, as you heard, going behind the wall. Dane Cameron picks up the pace again. A 1:08.732. Champion, overall champion, remember, with Porsche in the GTP category in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Found a new home at AO Racing. And now the top 3 are within 5 seconds of each other. It's into Europol, CrowdStrike, AO, Ben Hanley next up, but some way back in the 22, some 28 seconds, doing the best that he can for his teammate. Came into this weekend tied in second place, just 55 points away from the lead. It's so tight, Ryan, in LMP2 in the championship terms for the drivers.
It is, and if you give me a second, I'll do some tallying points as they run. But before I do that, just wanted to give some confirmation that some folks at IMSA checked with race control just to confirm that George Kurtz's drive time is A-OK. So the software I was looking at had a little bit of an error, evidently. It was off by roughly a minute. So evidently everything is good, and that's a big relief, I'm sure, for everyone at CrowdStrike by APR.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we keep our eyes on that sort of thing, but of course we're always going to defer to the official timing. When it comes down to the driving time, that long pit stop, by the way, we did mention that it was a throttle return spring that came off Robert Wiggins' car. He went out and pretty much straight away did the fastest lap of the GTD race. That's been somewhat usurped now, but 1:16.8 for the Dragon Speed Giacomo Altoe driven Corvette. Dane Cameron, another fastest lap of the race. Ford in with Ben Barker, and out it's Dennis Olsen who's taken over the 64 GT3 Mustang. Meanwhile, battle for the lead at the first corner, and the battle for the lead has changed. Into Europol, Tom Dillman has gone through. It was a moment or two ago down at turn number 1, and the CrowdStrike Alex Quinn car just getting side by side for a moment. Into Europol, last lap, a 1:08.8 for Tom Dillman, and he's pulled out 1.6 seconds, Ryan.
Yep, that's great for Dillman to build that lead up again. It got really close there momentarily. Meanwhile, we are in the window here for GT cars to make it to the finish with some fuel save, and so first to blink appears to be Vassar Sullivan, calling in both of their cars, it would appear.
Well, unlike Formula One, you do have separate pit teams here, so there's no worries about double stacking. Another fastest lap from Dane Cameron. Is that 3 or 4 now? Straight off the bounce. The top 3 still separated by just on 5 seconds, but he's closing in now on Alex Quinn. And Tom Dillman must have realised that he had to get by Alex and do it relatively quickly because Dane Cameron was coming. We have got a real scrap in the next 68 minutes.
We sure do. Yeah, really close, really competitive. Still some pit lane work to go for all of the classes. These are the last stops for those that are pitting out of the GT ranks. But a lot in play, and I really am curious to see what Cameron could do. That 99's been super fast all weekend long. They just haven't had the track position.
Down on pit lane, John, I've got some updates. GTD Pro, RLO McLaren, and Paul Miller BMW are in and doing a driver change, and so the starting driver gets back in. Nikita Johnson hands over to Max Esterson in the case of the Papaya McLaren, and for the BMW, Connor DeFilippi and Neil Verhagen switch over once again. Max Esterson, a great pit stop, but it's not enough. Paul Miller BMW will rocket clear out of pit lane.
Partner Racing taking time. Barrichello out. Proud Canadian, the tall Roman De Angelis waiting for the fuel. Plenty of time. That's absolutely not a problem for the team. They're waiting for the fuel. They could not go, Ryan Marine, any quicker than they did. Big burnout, big slide by Roman De Angelis. Had to wait for the last drops of VP Racing fuel.
And that's partially because they didn't pit under that last yellow. They stayed out to get the wave around, so they were in a fuel hole relative to the rest of the class. And they're lucky that this came under green flag conditions, not when everyone was bunched up. It's going to cost them some time on track, but not as much in terms of track position.
Yeah, a lot of people had gone round him. Nick Tandy's in the pit lane as well. And was that only left sides on that car? There are tyres on the right, but I didn't see them use them. If they did, they were very, very quick indeed, having a good look round that car. Also in Inception, the number 90. The number 70, Fred Schandorf car. Waiting for the fuel again there. VP race fuel topped up, and Fred Schandorf will take that car to the end of the race. Coming down to 65 minutes, Ryan. This is the part of the race now where we're getting all of the final pit stops. What we're going to get in 3 or 4 minutes time, or maybe 2 or 3 laps time is probably the best way to put it, is we are going to get a true picture and we're going to get a true fight. And already the 59 Max Esterson back in that car to finish this off. Max Esterson's going to be the closer, and he's right up with Corvette and Tommy Milner, who's just come out of the pit lane. Might get a draft down the Mario Andretti straight. This is important for Esterson, trying to get a position. He's dragging up there. He's got the aerodynamic tour. Esterson will have to go the long way around. Tommy Milner stays to the right, the preferred line, into the very, very fast turn 8. Esterson, the young American, with an older hand up his right-hand side, just got off into the grey and almost went off the track. Somehow he saves it and pulls it back, but loses a position to the Ford Mustang coming through behind him. That was Chris Meese who came through there in the number 65. Well, a perfect example maybe there of old and cunning beating youthful exuberance. I'm not sure, but that was a good effort. Esterson had been out, I think, a lap or two earlier, maybe had his Michelins up to temperature and pressure, but just couldn't hang out on the outside of turn 8, but he gave it a good go.
Really good stuff between the two American drivers. As you say, one much more experienced than the other, but close as you like it. Good respect between the pair. Meanwhile, in LMP2, the battle for the lead is hotting up again. Quinn has reeled in Dillman as they work their way through this GT traffic.
This is where you have to be decisive. Carte Blanche are in as well with the Aston Martin. This will be their last pit stop. Doesn't that car look good in white, Ryan? I hadn't really thought of it before. We're so used to seeing it with other teams and with expansive colourways and liveries. But you really see the shape of the car and those rear wheel arches. I've been watching and calling a lot of historic races lately. That looks like a Group 5 car to me as it goes out there, going back through history. It looks fantastic. Meantime, the battle for the lead for LMP2, and the race is back on again, heading towards turn 8. Ryan Marine.
Oh, wow, that was big through traffic there. Really decisive from Dillman. That's allowed him to build this lead again over Quinn. But don't look now. I think in the background I saw Dane Cameron starting to inch closer again. This could be a three-way fight for the lead for the final hour. Remember, still one pit stop. It's still coming for the LMP2 front runners. They're not done in the pits just yet.
Yeah, the team still have a part to play. Hello to James O'Donnell, who's tuned in and enjoying what he is seeing. Double dipping this weekend with sports car racing on the Radio Show Limited network of audio and visual channels. Just coming down to the last hour. One more stop for the top class. The GTD cars, pretty much everyone has done their final stop. We're starting to see the running order work its way through. Still waiting for FAF Motorsports and Andrea Caldarelli to stop in the Lamborghini Temerario. He's only done, or that car's only done the one stop so far, and we'll need to come back to pit lane. Whilst we're talking about GTD, let's go to a driver database informed pit lane report. Jack Hawksworth is ready to talk to our tuner.
Two incredible pit stops from Vassar Sullivan in the number 14 camp, but drivers doing their job as well. Jack Hawksworth, you got out after the first stint. This seems to be the best the Lexus has ever raced around the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Yeah, this has been it's been a good day for us. We've always gone well here, but then not really been able to put the race together. But today the guys have done a mega job. We managed to pick off a couple of guys early on, and then really good first stop to jump up to second. Ben then got the McLaren on the restart, and we've been leading the race ever since. So final stops out of the way, and you never know here. There could be another caution, but looking pretty good at the minute, so fingers crossed.
We usually talk about around 60 minutes being the fuel window for GT3 cars. 68 minutes, are you doing a bit of fuel saving, or is that an easy number to hit here?
That requires a bit of saving, but all the cars are doing the kind of same thing, so I think everyone's good from here.
How was the traffic in your stint?
Not too bad. It was all right. There's a couple of times the P2s came by, but it's a lot quieter than the Glen, put it that way.
Thanks, Jack.
Cheers.
Track temperature is dropped down to a chilly 48 Celsius from what we had at the start of the race. That's 118 Fahrenheit. Remember, we were way up over 50, 52, 53, into the mid-20s. 120s on the Fahrenheit scale, 26 in the air. It's cooling down there as well. Big moments, as we described it a little while ago. The old and the new American sports car drivers toughing it out through turn number 8. In the yellow corner to the inside, Tommy Milner in the Corvette. In the orange corner to the outside of turn 8, Max Esterson. And he just got slightly out-fumbled there, got onto the grey, but did a good job in holding on to the car. Didn't panic, didn't jump on the brakes. Just got to let the car sort itself out. And he's dropped a position to Chris Meese, but he lives to fight on and push on. Meantime, in that class, just checking to see where the AO Racing of Nick Tandy is. Yeah, he's second position at the moment, 6 seconds away from Ben Barnican in the GTD Pro class, as the battle for second place is absolutely on at the moment. And Neil Verhagen is closing down on him, just going up to Moss Corner now. Hello to the Tandy family, who, despite the heat in the middle of Bedfordshire, are all watching from under a duvet, presumably through their eyes as well. Hello, family Tandy. Not sure when Felix is next out racing again, but already proving his worth in British Championship karting. Well, it's starting to show now. Now, we are seeing from the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre, Ryan Marine, where the real battles are. And second place, Nick Tandy, they've worked the strategy. Oh, was there a little touch there from Verhagen? I think there was. Verhagen's in trouble as the number 2 United Autosport car went through and chopped across the BMW. He's almost put Tandy off as well. My goodness me, Mikkel Jensen, recovering from an off-track moment, has had incidents with 2 cars, and I think Verhagen's got a problem.
It looks like he's dropped off the back of that battle, so I think you might be right. And that's huge because that is certainly a championship contending car. Verhagen and De Filippi came into the race as the championship leaders in GTD Pro by 65 points. So if they drop too far down the order, that could really change the complexion of the championship battle.
Yeah, Neil has dropped away. That number 1 car, not now in the mirror of Nick Tandy. And I'm pretty certain there was a clash going through turn 1 with that Mikkel Jensen driven United Autosport, the white and blue car. Meantime, they'll pick up a few more battles. The GTs are tremendously entertaining as ever. Well, Dane Cameron has got clear track ahead of him and 30 seconds behind him. He's in third for AO Racing. He'll come up against some of the other categories while he is doing that. Let's go down to the pits and hear from Ben Barker with our tuner.
An interesting start of the race in the Ford Racing number 64. One of the first to come down pit lane. Was that planned?
Yeah, it was. I think we just wanted to do something a bit different to what the rest of the field was doing, considering we're at the back or towards the back. So at the moment we've gained a few positions, so I think that strategy is kind of paying off. But still a bit of a way to go. But yeah, so far fairly clean. A little bit of rubbing here, but you know that's kind of natural at motorsport, I think.
Hot day to start. Feels like the track temperature's come down. How's the Ford Mustang GT3 Evo feeling around this track?
Yeah, no, it's great. The Evo is fantastic. You know, there's definitely some clear improvements from last year. So yeah, the Mustang GT3 is running well here. You know, but it's a very tight field. You know, all the manufacturers are very close. There's not much of an advantage really for anybody down the straight. So there's not much overtaking into 8. So you have to kind of wait for a mistake really from people and try and get up the inside that way. So yeah, it's tricky, but you know, hopefully the strategy pays off.
It's cooling down. Is it going to mean less mistakes?
I don't know about that. We'll wait and see, but it doesn't feel like it's cooling down, if I'm honest. Thanks, mate. Thank you. Cheers.
Ben Barker, Ford Racing driver, GTD Pro, De Filippi and Verhagen for BMW. We have a 108-point lead as it stands over Nicky Katzberg and Tommy Milner in the number 4 Corvette. 144 back, so just another 38 points, 36 points back. Is Harry King and Nick Tandy ahead of Garcia and Sims. And by the way, if you remember back about, where are we? What have we got to go? 54 minutes. If you remember back about 25 minutes ago, we had the Pilotti mid-race recap that said there were 0 cars out, and I said, yeah, well, but the TDS racing car, we haven't seen that for ages. We have 0 cars out. Matthias Besch has brought the TDS Racing Oreca back from behind the wall, and despite being 38 laps down, that car is running again and setting lap times. As across the line goes the championship leader in GTD Pro for the Drivers' Championship, Neil Verhagen. Now, what happened at turn 1? I'm pretty sure, Ryan, that there was a touch here. Yes, there was, as the number 2 United car went through. My worry was that there was a puncture on the right front of that number 1 car, but it's been gathered back together again, although it has to be said that the BMW, Neil Verhagen, has not closed back down on Nick Tandy. He's just starting to get back into his rhythm now, I think.
Yeah, not immediately, but as you can see if you're watching the video, and I'll illustrate for you if you're listening to the audio, that he has been a little bit quicker each of the last 2 laps and was able to close in slightly. A 1:16.7 the last time for Verhagen, and actually that was the quickest GTD Pro time of anybody on that previous lap. So I think he's got his head down. He can see his quarry up the road in that number 77 car, and he would love to make up one more position here and help to pad the championship lead. All things considered, that could have ended a whole lot worse given there was contact in that high-speed turn 1, just like you thought there might have been.
Yeah, he did well to hold on to it, and then at the next corner, actually, Tandy was pushed offline a little bit by the same car, Mikkel Jensen. Very un-Mikkel Jensen type run today. Already been in the barriers, that's pushed him down the field. 7th in LMP2, 7th, 8th and 9th in LMP2 are 30th, 31st and 32nd of the 32 cars running, and they have all had some strife. Tower and United, the 8 and the 2 cars, with the slightly less time lost, 49 laps down for the TDS car, and it's 11 and 10 respectively for the United and Tower cars. Last pit stop time, I think. Alex Quinn into the pit lane, and he'll do what should be his final pit stop. They come across the wall. They look like, if they're not brand new tyres, they're close. He's just adjusting his helmet strap and getting a drink under there. It's 4 tyres. It'll be a full tank of VP Racing fuel. They're taking their time on the tyres. United Autosport number 22, Ben Hanley, came in and has now just left as well. That was the 6th place car. They're just cleaning out the ducts at the front, taking a tear off from the screen. This is all being covered by the fuel fill. They're not losing any time at all, taking some tyre detritus from the intakes at the front, and Alex Quinn gets going again, working that Cosworth steering wheel, looks to his left hand side to blend back onto the track. He's off and running, and here comes Dane Cameron and Tom Dillman as well. Dillman and Cameron both into the pit lane. Let's stay with this. Team not allowed across the wall until the car stops. This again, a 4 tyre stop. They have lots of time to change the tyres. Another set of brand new Michelin's going on, because it will be a full fuel fill just ahead of them. Dane Cameron for AO came in slightly behind them, but not by much. They're going through the same routine. Into Europol down on the ground, waiting for the fuel to be pulled. Same for Spike the Dragon, the 99. Fuel out of Into Europol. Last minute bits and pieces on Spike. Into Europol rejoin. Still waiting for the last bits of fuel. 50 minutes to go. Let's take some of that shine off the Michelin tyres. Drop the clutch and go. So that's the top 3 that have pitted. Now, Ryan, all we're waiting for is Brian Herder, Autosport, and Ricky Taylor. They have not had the yellow flag that they would have wanted to close back up. 42 seconds was the gap when they went through on the 2 cars ahead of them.
So I've done a little thinking about what they were working on with this strategy here, and it's off the beaten path for sure. But remember, they ran Misha Goikhberg long. Effectively, they are splitting this final stint here for Ricky Taylor. So you saw how long everyone had to wait on that fuel load. They will have a shorter final stop than their opposition. The question is, does that overcome the time lost when they had Misha in versus the pros and the other cars? Again, to Misha's credit, he's been fast this weekend. He's been really, really strong.
Oh yeah.
But that's what they're looking for here. They need Ricky Taylor now to put his head down, put in as many fast laps as possible, and hope that they can have hopefully it stays green first of all, and then also hope that that quicker pit stop will then help them cycle forward slightly in the running order. But one other thing to factor in, well, let me think that through again, and I'll come back to you on that in just a second.
Okay. So into Europol, back out. Ricky Taylor leads the motor race, but he is due his last pit stop. Right now, he's 11.5 seconds away from Tom Tillman. He can't do his last pit stop in that amount of time. Where will he cycle back in? I think they've locked themselves into a situation where probably they're going to be battling with Ben Hanley for 5th position when they make their final stop. I don't sit up for 4th position. It will be actually. Sorry, they'll drop out somewhere near where Ben Hanley is now. I don't think it's helped them, if I'm honest. And I might be missing something. Answers on a postcard, please, to at IMSA Radio on X, if you could see something that we're missing. But what did you tell me the transit time was down the pit lane?
23 seconds. Yeah, it's 23 seconds. So it is quite short. And then it just depends on how long they're stationary to give him the fuel he needs to go to the end. The only caveat to all of this is, remember, Misha had his spin behind the safety car after the pit stop, so they had lost all of their track position. They're not in the championship hunt, so they might have just taken a punt on something, and it could still net them a couple of positions. Maybe they didn't feel like they were going to be able to race their way forward, given how difficult it is to make passes around here. So even if it only nets them a position or two, it's still some progress. And had a yellow come and everybody done their final stop at the same time, they would have had a shorter stop than everyone else and come out looking really, really strong. So those are a few of the things I think that they were factoring in as I'm reverse engineering the strategy that we've seen play out.
Our Porsche keys to the race in Michelin Countdown, a great track position. Keep the penalties down. Look after yourself in traffic. Mind yourself in the heat, and look after your tyres. Everybody has had brand new Michelin tyres that we've seen. They've saved a set for the run to the flag, which is 45.5 minutes away. Time for a driver database informed pit lane report with Arjuna Kankapati, who's out in the heat.
Alongside of Connor De Filippi, who's jumped out of the car. Connor, was it planned for your teammate Neil to start and end the race?
Yeah, I think so far this weekend, all the prep has been done with Neil on new tires for qualifying. I think with all the experience he has this weekend, with one new set left at the end of the race, I think it makes sense to put him back in at the end and try to extract the most out of it. So I think at the end of the day, that's I think the best way to optimize. We were trying to get Rexy there, but it doesn't seem like he was able to make the pass, so now we're just kind of trying to fall in line here, and maybe there's a late race yellow. We can try to get them at the end.
And if there is a late race yellow, we're not expecting you down into pit lane, but how aggressive can you be on a restart to try and make some moves here?
Certainly you want to be aggressive, but again, we're thinking championship. We're still in a good position. We're in the podium spot right now, so fingers crossed it stays that way, and we just keep being smart.
Is it cooling down out on track? Does that benefit the BMW?
It seems like the track temp is coming down. It was going up during my stint, and as I got out, it's starting to cool back down again, so for sure that helps us. It's a high-load track. It's one of the stiffest places we run all year setup-wise, so you're putting a lot of energy in these Michelin tires. So definitely when it cools down, we're always happier in the car.
Thanks, Connor.
Thank you.
That is the number 1 BMW Paul Miller Racing iHeartRadio car, 1.9 seconds away from Nick Tandy and the EO Racing. I love the fact that even he calls it Rexy. He doesn't say the Porsche or Tandy. He calls it Rexy. We were trying to get Rexy. 6.3 seconds. Nick is behind the leader of class, Ben Barnicott, and there's almost a little rub again from prototype onto a GT car. This time it's the number 99 of Dane Cameron as he was going past the Corvette on the Andretti straightaway. Sorry, when I say the Corvette, I mean the better placed of the two Corvettes, the number 4 in 4th position where it started. Tommy Milner in that car now, a little way back from the top 3. He's battling with Chris Meese, actually. We saw the Ford versus Bowtie battle come to a slightly untidy ending he said, picking his words very carefully, at Watkins Glen International last time out. Chris Mace just losing a bit of time through traffic there. He's in 5th position for Ford and the Mustang GT3. Max Esterson down in 6th. They can be proud of their day. RLL Team McLaren can be proud of their day. And Max in particular has shown some real chutzpah. Was it the right thing to do to try and go around the outside of Tommy Milner at turn 8, Ryan? I'm not sure, but I found it very entertaining.
I'm glad he did it.
To the pits. Yeah, me too. Last pit stop, and here's where the stagger all unwinds, Ryan. Brian Hurd at Autosport. Ricky Taylor will need less fuel for the next 42 minutes, but not much. It's still going to be a 4-tyre change. They've still got time to do that, and that looks like a new set of tyres. Yes, it is. And unleash Ricky Taylor on the world. He's been super quick, Ryan, all week.
Yeah, he has. Amazing. This is his first ever IMSA LMP2 start. He's made 7 previous LMP2 starts, whether that's in ELMS or the World Endurance Championship, but he has been awesome this weekend. Fastest driver in a P2 car in the build-up to the race. But where will he cycle out? As you thought, it might be a fight with Hanley for what becomes 4th and 5th. We'll see how they cycle through.
See if I can spot him on the tracker. There's Hanley just going through the start-finish line now. Yeah, it's going to be about that. I don't think he was quick enough to get out near Dane Cameron. And he got out into a bit of free air, actually. So Tom Dillman back to the front into Europol. Alex Quinn 5.6 seconds behind in second. Ricky Taylor just going through Moss Corner now in the number 52. And ahead of him, well, that's Matthias Besch, TDS, that's ahead of him. So, and also Sebastian Alvarez. He might have done slightly better than I thought. He's come out behind Dane Cameron, but he's, I think, got quite a gap back to Ben Hanley. So he's dropped out into what's a roundabout. Was round about a minute gap between Dane Cameron and Ben Hanley. Just short of that, about 40 seconds. Yeah, he's 5 seconds ahead of Ben Hanley and 35 seconds behind Dane Cameron. So he's dropped out into clear air, and now he's only got the GT traffic to worry about. Can he go forward from there? Possibly. Is he likely to make up 40 seconds to challenge for the podium? I would think not, and that is absolutely no detriment meant to Ricky's driving. George Kurtz and Alex Quinn lead as they run in LMP2 standings. Tom Dillman and his teammate in second by 70. Then the number 99, Dane Cameron, PJ Hyatt. So Dillman and Jeremy Clark in second. They are 11 points ahead of Hyatt Cameron. Daniel Goldberg on his own dropped way back now, and that will be disappointing for Dan Goldberg in the number 22. Ben Hanley will try and pull as much back as he can. Came into this weekend, if memory serves, I think there is he came in effectively joint second, 55 points back from the lead, didn't he, this weekend, Goldberg?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Yes, that's exactly right. So he and Hyatt and Cameron, they were tied on 9:52 coming in. Got split a little bit, of course, with the qualifying points that were paid out, and now falling even further behind as they run. But still a lot of races left to run. I mean, we're still basically at the halfway point of the LMP2 season. It's so backloaded. We had so few races in the front part of the season, but now, second half of the season, it comes hot and heavy.
keeping an eye on the lap times at the front of the field. Tom Dillman, where is he? He's on the Mario Andretti straight. He's just come through a little gaggle of GT cars, including the Inception machine. As he comes to the end of the back straight, he's cleared. He's just cleared Mikkel Jensen, actually, in the United Autosport car. That's another P2 machine as well. That could have held him up a little bit. The CrowdStrike car coming through the S's now as well. Dane Cameron, 9 seconds further back in the 99. Here comes through the S's, not the start-finish, straight across the start-finish line now. Top 3 in LMP2, 12 seconds apart. GTD Pro, Barnicourt leading for Vasser Sullivan. 7 seconds. Tandy's not been able to close him down. And Tandy is under threat again from behind from Neil Verhagen. 1.7 the gap. GTD, Phil Ellis, 1.3 ahead of Aaron Telitz. They're having a decent scrap, and another 1.6 further back to Robbie Foley. So still plenty of action going on around the circuit. In fact, still 37 minutes to go, gentlemen. And I think we're done with all the pit stops now, Ryan, aren't we? For anyone who's in a substantive and important position. So we can start to think about our BTO Nose Strategy Award. Just the one here, could be from any of the classes. What's caught your eye as we've gone through the first 2 hours or so?
Well, I know it didn't necessarily net the windfall that we thought it might in the long term, but the McLaren, the Rahal decision to pit right when the window opened early in the race, that then immediately proceeded a full course yellow and got their McLaren to the lead of the race, albeit temporarily. I do think that was probably the most inspired strategy move at the time, but maybe doesn't have the long-term effect that we're always looking for with an award like this. But that's the first thing that comes to mind. I think, too, you look at what some of the Aiken Award, the Bronze Cup drivers have done and teams have done in GTD, the likes of Inception with their car all the way up to 6th. Same for Myers-Riley with their car up to 7th. They've done well to manage the drive time situation and position that car in a place where they're in for a pretty good result amongst all of the GTD runners, not just the ones in that are going for that Aiken Award. So those are some of the things that I'm thinking about, but I'm curious what you and Arjuna have identified.
Arjuna, BDO Nose Strategy Awards. You've heard what Ryan said. What's your thoughts with just under 40 minutes to go?
The one that stands out to me the most was Vasser Sullivan Lexus and the GTD Pro. First cycle down through pit lane, the call to short fill and execute on that pit stop so well. It really set up Ben Barnicourt to go and then manage the race from the front. We heard from Jack Hawksworth that he wasn't quite pushing full 10 tenths, instead maybe 9, 8 tenths, saving a bit of fuel here and there. And since they took the lead, they have never looked back. So I'm really impressed by how things have worked out for them.
Yeah, true enough. Of course, we also, on Wednesday, on Midweek Motorsport, will be able to announce the CrowdStrike Endurance Teamwork and Speed Award. We have to wait for the data to come in on that one for this race and for the Michelin Pilot Challenge race yesterday. No spoilers from me on that one. The archive is already up on IMSARadio.com. In fact, if you were tuned to RS2 before our Michelin Countdown to Green, we actually replayed the race in full, and I suspect that'll get another play on RS2 IMSA Radio tonight. So if you're travelling, or missed the race yesterday and you want to know what happened, tune to RS2 IMSA Radio via imsaradio.com and listen in 24/7 IMSA content via RS2, the home of IMSA Radio, www.imsaradio.com. Neil Verhagen has just not been able to pick the pace up since that little clash with Mikkel Jensen. I mean, there's nothing wrong with his lap times, Ryan, but he hasn't really been able to close back down on Tandy. He got within about a second or so, 1.7 seconds. He's back out to 3 seconds now. And I just wonder if there was a bit of damage done to the front of that BMW. Meantime, the turn of BMW continues to circulate. Fuel to the end for Robbie Foley in third position, 2.5 seconds away from second, 3.5 seconds away from fourth. Albert Costa just took about 3/10 out of him last time around. And Robbie will be asking about the lap times. Everybody knows, Ryan, how good Albert Costa is chasing anything down. Give him a target, he'll chase it. There he is. Both cars on the Andretti straight at the same time.
Yeah, Costa's something else. Remember, he was able to nurse the fuel to the end here last year to help get the victory. Can't remember if it was Albert at the wheel or not, but that car kind of stole a win on fuel strategy in this event 1 year ago. I say that car, that's not correct. That was actually the Dragon Speed car. That's who Albert was driving for last year. But the point remains, they're kind of the outlier. We talk so much about how important track position is, but they didn't really have it last year and thought their way to the front rather than race their way to the front. Today's a different situation where they were on the back foot, having lost the fast lap in qualifying. They were mired back at 8th. And Lorenzo Patrese did really well on that opening stint to pick up a couple of spots, and Costa's done his part too to consolidate that just off the podium right now. And maybe that chance to get up on the rostrum and celebrate before the end of this race. We'll see. 31 minutes to try and chase down Robbie Foley. Easier said than done.
Huh. Yeah, that is a tall order. Just an update on what's going on in the Aitken Award. It's actually a decent battle between Inception and Maya Riley Racing. Fred Schandorf in the number 70 and the number 16 of Maya's Riley Motorsport. Just 0.3 of a second between them. Callum Eilert closing on them, as well as Giacomo Altoe and Roman De Angelis. And Judy Barrichello, by the way, as it stands, still leading in GTD by 52 points over Aaron Thielitz and Ben Pedersen. The BMW pairing in the 96 in third position. But a really decent battle there. Inception, Riley, Wright, Dragon Speed, Heart of Racing, pretty much all together from 6th down to 10th position in GTD. And the first two that I mentioned there, Ryan, are the two battling for top points this race for the Aitken Award.
And they're second and third for that Aitken Award coming in. So, and actually it's not been a great day for the car that they're chasing in the Aitken Award standings right now. That's the Ori Fidani Matt Bell car that's all the way down at 12th. So this could be an opportunity for both of those cars to inch a little bit closer and make that a dramatic battle for the automatic Le Mans entry that comes along with that award at season's end. Real opportunity for them there. You mentioned Roman De Angelis at the back of that train a few moments ago. That car was a lap down. It was the better part of 2 laps down, actually, at one point early in the race. They had that drive-through penalty. Yellow came at a good time for them. They were able to use the wave around to get back on the lead lap. I considered them for that Radio No Strategy Award, but they really haven't made as much ground up yet. However, De Angelis is right there on the tail of 3 or 4 cars. If you can make up a few more spots, maybe they deserve some consideration for the way they've been able to get themselves back, somewhat at least, in contention.
Still a bit of fuel saving going on at Wedge. I thought was quite interesting. What was Connor de Filippi, wasn't it, who was talking earlier on, Ryan?
Yeah, Connor weighing in on it. We heard Jack Hawksworth talking about the fact as well that they pitted kind of on the fringe of the window for the GT cars, and so it's not comfortable in the sense of you can't go full tilt to the end from when they pitted, but it's comfortable enough that you know it's a number that with some effort you can hit. And I think everyone was well within that window of knowing that, all right, if we save a little bit of fuel, we're in good shape. I do wonder, going back to the battles that we've been talking about, Verhagen and Tandy, for instance, maybe Neil is trying to bank up a little bit of fuel, a little bit of energy for that final run to the checkered, save it now, and then mount a challenge late in the going. That could be part of what they're thinking about here for the final 27 and a half minutes.
Is there does there have to be a part of the thinking there as well, Ryan, that says, but what happens if we get one of those blue Corvette safety cars out again? We don't want to be a sitting duck. Yes, it will help us in the fuel situation, but if somebody else has got more, they can possibly run a different engine map, and therefore it can make life difficult for us to be able to, we were talking about making lap time as opposed to racing. You want a car that you can race to the checkered flag, not just survive with.
Sure. So yeah, they'll be thinking about all of that. There's so many parts and pieces that go into forming race strategy. I do think a yellow shouldn't come out here at the end, would put all the GT cars in a position. They all pitted about the same time as one another, all the ones that are running at the front. So I think all that would do is eliminate the need for fuel save. So with that in mind, what you would be thinking about is, do I have the Michelins to make a charge in the run to the end? And maybe if you're in a position now where you're not close to another car, okay, hold back. You're not going to run down the car in front anyway. Make sure you preserve the Michelin tires, and then if we get the reset, maybe you've got a slightly sharper weapon to go to battle with for that final dash to the end of the race.
Let's go down to Arjuna. He's down in the pit lane, and he's our driver database informed pit lane reporter.
Well, you're talking about cautions. One of the things that I do to prepare for a weekend is look at the historical trends to know when the action might be down here on pit lane. And John, going through the last 7 years, well, the last 4 races all had a caution in the last 30 minutes. You have to go back to 2019. We had a couple of years between that and the next race in 2022 here to find the last race with no cautions in the last 30 minutes. The years before that, 2 cautions in the last 30 minutes. This is the track where we do expect some sort of drama towards the very end.
Thanks, Arjuna. Hopefully Arjuna is keeping well hydrated there down in the pit lane. We don't stop every 25 minutes for hydration breaks here, but maybe we should have today for Arjuna. To make me laugh the other day, somebody was asking me, who doesn't know that much about football but had been watching the FIFA World Cup, and asked me why they were having hydrangea breaks. Nothing to do with flowers at all, but it did make me laugh out loud. Just heard part of a conversation about us complaining about that. Although in fairness, I've been talking about splitting football soccer games into 4 15-minute quarters for about 15 years, and stopping the clock every time the ball goes out, like you would do with basketball, so that you don't have the refs having to worry about the timing. People said it would never catch on. We'll see. Ford Racing, Dennis Olsen still have the fastest lap in GTD Pro, the number 64 car at least, with a 16 flat, 16.5 for Robbie Fawley. He's taken the fastest lap in the GTD category. Robbie still running in 3rd position, 2.5 seconds away from Aaron Tielitz, who's 2.5 seconds away from Phil Ellis. Those are your top 3, and it's Sebastian Alvarez for Tower Motorsports way down the standings. 31st position overall, 8th in class, and 11 laps off the lead. A 1:08.481. That is the best in LMP2. So GTD getting closer at the front of the field. Callum Eilert looking at the back of Philippe Fraga in the number 16 Ford Mustang. And a bit further up the field, Albert Costa for Conquest Racing is now within 4 seconds of Turner Motorsport and Robbie Foley. And that 4 seconds is the difference between that satin blue, black and white Ferrari being in 4th and being on the podium. And you know that if any driver, Costa will be pushing. He can't be complacent and he can't make too many mistakes. I've just seen there, going through on the back straight, is the rather fearsome looking Wayne Taylor Racing Lamborghini Huracan. That car, is that closing in? Trent Hindman, 17, yeah, it took half a second. Oh, pit stop for Dane Cameron, out of 3rd position, Ryan.
Well, I can't imagine what this is for unless they had a miscalculation on their fuel. Everybody in LMP2 pitted together, so I mean that would tell me that they all thought they were good to go. They must have had a fueling issue because it was just, what, 5 seconds of fuel going in and that's it?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, he's got a 27 second gap back to Ricky Taylor. No, he hasn't. I'm talking complete nonsense. He only had 6 seconds back to Ricky Taylor. So I've slightly changed the format of my screen recently to the columns are the wrong way around from what they used to be. So where's Dane popped back out again? Yeah, I think they've lost a heap of time. And this is crucial for them in the championship run as well. Well, it's another head-scratching moment, I'm afraid, here in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. I hesitate to say AO Racing make mistakes because they seldom do, but everyone is human. But I can't see any tactical reason for doing that, Ryan, can you?
No, I can't. I do think they still managed to come out ahead of Ricky Taylor, though. There was a healthy gap between the two.
Correct.
Prior to that. So, if you're going to make a mistake, at least this is one without a major consequence. So, he still sits in 3rd place, same as when he pitted before, just now a lot further behind 2nd place than he was before.
Guys, I talked to 2 members down on the team box just to make sure that I heard correctly, but this was not... this was a planned stop. They don't have the fuel to get to the end. They needed the splash and dash, and from what I heard, they feel like a lot of their other competition is going to need to do the same. I think the exception is Ricky Taylor in the number 52.
Right. So it's not over yet. Very, very interesting. Well, we had a last lap that was full of drama at Le Mans a couple of weekends ago with the HSR NASCARs. IMSA President John Doonan was racing under the nom de cause as Ricky Doonan as he was driving the Wonder Bread liveried car from Talladega Nights. And I think we had 12 or 14 cars ran out of fuel on the last lap. Look, it's an 8.5 mile last lap, so you can't afford to get that wrong. But it did make things very, very interesting. Well done to Andrew Jordan and JC France, who won the 2 races there. Great battles as well. You can pick them up on the IMSA site as well. Tom Tillman by 4.5 seconds. PR1 Matheson down in 4th position with Ricky Taylor. Now he is absolutely good to go, and we were scratching our heads. I'm just making notes here, Ryan, for the BDO No Strategy Award. 50 teams gone right back to the top of my list here.
Well, I'm prepared to eat my words here if they've got this right. I just don't know why I got to go do a little digging for the previous stint length prior to that stop, because I mean, it's amazing to me that all of the LMP2 field would have pitted together if they didn't think they could make it. And it would be about a 50-minute stint, which is long for a P2 car, but the numbers I was given before the start of this race was 46 to 50 minutes is what the P2 teams were expecting to be able to do. So we'll find out very soon. If other P2 teams come in to top off, then clearly they pitted before they were clear to make it to the end, and if not, then maybe it was a miscalculation from AO, and they're not wanting to say that publicly for good reason. But I'm with you. I'm reticent to discount their strategy. They're so good at it. So for them to make a mistake and need a top off there seems unlikely. But anyway, we'll all find out together in 17 minutes and 15 seconds.
Well, before we do the final VP in-race update, Arjuna has had the truth serum out. What do you reckon, Arjuna, and who have you been talking to?
I save it for the good stuff, John, and this is some great action right now. CrowdStrike confirmed to me that they are not good to the end. They will need a splash and dash, and directly across from where I'm standing, I can see into Europol already on the pit wall. They're going to go as long as they can, no question about that, but both teams ready to dive down into pit lane.
VP Racing, the official fuel, coolant and additives of IMSA.
Stand by your beds, everybody. Don't write the headlines yet. Get some more popcorn. There's plenty still to happen. Here's how it stands right now with 16 minutes to go. We've already seen the AO Racing cars jump into the pit lane with 20 minutes to go. They couldn't make it to the end of the pit. Doesn't mean they were 20 minutes short, but they've decided to do it now and get it out of the way. They could drop Dane Cameron away from the leaders into a pretty big gap that he was sitting behind. Here's how they stand. Tom Dillman into Europol, potentially needing a stop. Alec Quinn, see above comment. Dane Cameron now 5 times down through the pit lane. They think they're good to go for the 99 car. Ricky Taylor is 20 seconds behind in the number 52, Brian Herder. He's fueled to the end, we reckon. Ben Hanley, question mark. Pietro Fittipaldi, question mark. GTD Pro, no worries in the GTD field as far as we're aware. Lexus, Vassar Sullivan leads from AO Racing's Nick Tandy in second place for Porsche. Paul Miller Racing, gaps, by the way, is 8 seconds between those two. Paul Miller Racing, Neil Verhagen's closed up in the traffic, and now it's just 1.5 seconds between second and third. Then it's 9 seconds back to Tommy Milner in 4th position in the Chevy Corvette number 4. Ford Mustang GT, Chris Meese, another 7 seconds further back in 5th, and a good run from RLL team McLaren. Max Esterson is only 3 seconds further back in 6th. He's got half a second on Dennis Olsen for Ford in 7th, who's got a second on the Lamborghini Temerario of Faf in 8th, and rounding up the top 9, another second back, Corvette Racing, Antonio Garcia. Winward Racing lead GTD by all of 1.5 seconds from Aaron Tielitz. The Lexus in second place. Then it's the BMW of Robbie Foley. That's the Turner Motorsport car, Liquid Moly Turner Motorsport car, and that is 6.3 seconds further back. He's got 3 seconds on Conquest, and Albert Costa still pushing hard. Robbie Foley, by the way, the fastest lap in that class, or at least that car has. Trent Hinman, Wayne Taylor Racing, Lamborghini Huracan, another 7 seconds back of Albert Costa in 5th. 6th, Roman De Angelis, another 9, call it 10 seconds further back. The Aitken Award, Inception from Myers Riley Motorsport, Ferrari versus Mustang, about a second between those two. and 13 Autosport Chevy Corvette in third, but way down the field. But obviously they'll still get third place points. That's your final VP Racing update. 13.5 minutes to go. Tom Dillman on his 116th lap leads by 3 seconds. Ryan Marie.
Well, I've done a little number crunching here. One thing to point out is that Dillman pitted 1 lap more recently than Alex Quinn did. So that might buy them a little bit more grace period in terms of making it to the finish. Dillman's last stop, 49 minutes, 36 seconds still remaining in the race. Quinn, 1 lap earlier, 50 minutes, 44 seconds still left in the race. The other thing to remember is, as we saw from Dane Cameron doing his splash and go, when the leaders, if the leaders have to come in and do so, it's not like Ricky Taylor's in a position to benefit from that. Cameron did it and came out still ahead of Taylor. So if Dillman and Quinn do have to splash, they'll still come out ahead of Ricky Taylor and the Brian Hurt Autosport PR1 strategy. It's not like that's going to vault them up ahead of the 2 current leaders of the race.
Yeah, agreed. So he was still fighting Ben Hanley for 4th and 5th position, and that's still going on because Ben's only 2.5 seconds behind him right now as we move into the last 12 minutes of the race. Championship has been shuffled a little bit at various points, not the big moves we saw in some of the other races and championships we've seen this weekend. Been another absolutely stunning weekend of racing at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Hats off to the Canadian fans again, and a lot of people have this place on their bucket list, and you can understand why. Thank you for all the kind words that we've had on at IMSA Radio, those of you listening at the circuit, and an absolute pleasure to call races here. Just a beautiful countryside around here as well, and a very knowledgeable sports car crowd who love their motor racing. Philip Ellis leads in GTD. Russell Ward did his job to start on. This is an important return to form, Ryan, for the Tecamet 57 as it goes through turn 1. Had a great start to the season, then it dropped back a little bit. We'll come back to that in a second because Alex Quinn is in the lane from second place for a splash of fuel to get to the end. 10.5 minutes to go for the 04. Arjuna is watching.
I'm counting on my fingers as the fuel goes in. It's 7 seconds and counting, and off and away goes CrowdStrike. Going to blend in directly behind some GTD cars, but where is Spike?
Coming onto the front straight now is the answer. Has to go past the Gradient Ford. Dives in the first corner. This is going to be tight. He's up to speed. He's got his temperature in his tyres as well. Dane Cameron coming like a train over the top of the brow. He'll be able to see his quarry. Surely, I think he's gone down into turn 3 now. Up over Quebec corner. And Alex Quinn in the 04 is up at Moss Corner. And here's Tom Dillman in. Tom Dillman in now from the lead of the race. Arjuna.
Is it going to be as clinical a pit stop? They're taking a quick look at the right rear momentarily, but I don't think it's too much concern. Off and away they go. Now, where is George Kurtz and Alex Quinn going to blend out as Tom Dillman gets ready to fire off the pit limiter?
The 04 car, Alex Quinn, comes onto the front stretch now. Alex Quinn is over the top of the rise at turn 2. So he's got the run from the exit of turn 1 to the entry to turn 2 between them. It's as you were. Dillman, Quinn, Cameron into Europol, CrowdStrike, AO, But now you've got to say there's no fuel saving required now. So whatever pace you've got, and I realise these are all Oregon LMP 07s with the Gibson engine, Ryan, but whatever pace you've got now, whatever you've saved in terms of performance potential in your Michelin tyres, you've got to use it now.
Yeah, you can't take it with you. You might as well start pushing here. We'll see what Quinn could do, but really in the stint previous, Dillman was able to build that gap. Other than in traffic, that's where there were a few opportunities for Quinn to close it and maybe mount a challenge, albeit briefly, for the lead. But I do think there's enough pace in this yellow and green number 43 from Inter Europol. If Dillman can keep it on track and avoid the misfortune that hit him towards the end of the race last year. Again, remember, they looked like they were en route to victory when they had a mechanical failure. That will surely be in the back of Tom Dillman's mind, but for the moment, things are looking pretty clear sailing out in front of LMP2.
Do you think it's still in the back of his mind? Oh yeah, only every time he comes out of Clayton Corner and up that short straight towards Quebec Corner, which is where it happened. You've got to give these racing drivers a bit of kudos, haven't you? He had a big accident there which hurt him, and he's jumped back in that car. His performance has been outstanding. The way they are able to compartmentalise everything is outstanding to me. Ben Barnegat coming round the final corner to start another lap as he leads in GTD Pro. Nick Tandy has closed in, actually. It's under 6 seconds now, but Nick's having to battle Neil Verhagen in the Paul Miller racing car. Those two still tied together with a small piece of string. Dennis Olsen also battling Max Esterson for 6th and 7th in GTD Pro. And the battle at the head of the Aitken Award Bronze Cup. Scharndorf versus Felipe Fraga just coming down the hill as well. Felipe Fraga in that glorious throwback livery, red, white and black Mustang. Ben Hanley's pitted for United Autosport in the number 22 car, pitted from 5th position. So Ricky Taylor for Brian Herter Autosport, after all of that, I think I remember saying he was about 30 seconds behind, and after the final pit stops by all of the leaders, he's 35 seconds behind. So it's not actually done them any good whatsoever, but I understand why they had to make that call, Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. Again, it was a good race. It was shaping up to be a good race for them. Then Misha had the spin on cold tires coming out of the pits behind the safety car. That cost them track position. So at that point, I suppose, why not roll the dice and see what you can do? And just didn't quite pay off in terms of a big result. Even still, a 4th is actually going to be that team's best result of the year. So that's something they can take away with from this weekend.
Still your nomination for BDO No Strategy Award?
I actually would like to revise it slightly, because Roman DeAngelis raced his way through this pack of GT cars that we've been talking about and is up to 6th place. And this is really big for Dudu Barrichello, his teammate of the weekend. Roman is on fill-in duty and has done big things for his teammates' championship aspirations. And again, it was that team's recovery from a bad pit stop and then a drive-through penalty where they were nearly 2 laps down to get back into contention. If they can score 6th place points, again, with the championship implications of all of that, I think that deserves a nod.
Yeah, I'd say honourable mention to Winward as well. Started well down. They've played the cards that have been dealt to them. Arjuna, final thoughts from you for the BDO Nose Strategy Award?
Still hard for me to look past the number 14 Vassar Sullivan Lexus. The execution on pit lane, John, really for now back-to-back races continues to impress me. But go back to GTD, I'll call out another team. We spoke to Patrick Gallagher in our Michelin Countdown to Green, and he said it was going to be a difficult day for the team starting down in 6th after not getting the most out of qualifying. And they played their cars great as well, sitting a podium spot, and they'll be a little bit frustrated that Dudu Barrichello and Roman DeAngelis have been able to recover so well, because they would have been able to eat into that championship advantage.
Main time in the battle for the Aitken Award. Schandorf and Felipe Fraga are going at it hammer and tongs. It's a battle for 7th and 8th in GTD, but those championship points and closing the gap on 13 Autosport really, really important. As across the line goes the second place car of Alex Quinn, Dane Cameron there as well, and he's just about to come up to some more GTD traffic. Hartner Racing only spent 2 minutes and 33 seconds in their 3 pit stops, and Roman DeAngelis has just done the fastest GTD lap of the race. He is working so hard for Eduardo Dudu Barrichello in the championship lead. Almost fell 2 laps down, and that number 27 Hartner Racing Aston Martin will win the BDO Nose Strategy Award for the team, and well deserved. Honourable mentions for a number of other teams as well, but not just the fact that they've done it, but frankly, and I think you hit the nail on the head here, Ryan, if I'm honest, it's the championship implications. They had to work really hard. Could have been well out of it. Could have lost the championship lead for Dudu, and he is prioritising this championship this year. So they are the BDO Nose Strategy Award winners. And well done for all of them. Now at the front of the field, we're down to the last 90 seconds or so. I think we'll get one more lap. It'll be white flag this time around, Ryan. I reckon so.
Awfully close to it, yep. As we're, I think that's going to be about right. Yes, that should be right. White flag next time by. So Tom Dillman just over 1 lap away from exercising some demons, coming back and slaying the ghosts, right, that plagued him from leaving this track 1 year ago.
White flag is in the air. Let's do it in Canadian measurement. 3.9 kilometres, 2.459 miles between Tom Dillman and a redemption drive par excellence. The other class leaders, Philip Ellis, coming through to start his last lap. This again, we were about to talk about this, and while he comes across the line, this is a return to form and to some decent points for the 57 crew in the AMG Winwood car after a good start to the season, Ryan.
Remarkably, they've not won since that first race of the season at the Rolex 24. We thought, okay, here they go again as they go for 3 straight championships, but it's been tough since then. Only 1 top 5 finish since the opening race of the season. This would be a massive bounce back for that team.
Seen how strong they can be at the end of the year as well. The LMP2s take top billing at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in 2026, and Inter Europol top of the bill as well. They've proved themselves to be an absolutely world-class team with Le Mans wins, multiple Le Mans wins, and they've done it again here. The 43 crew on top of the box from CrowdStrike and AO Racing, who ran them close all the way through. Brian Herder Autosport in 4th with some tricky strategy, didn't quite work for them. And here comes Philip Ellis to take GTD. It was Lexus and Vassar Sullivan in GTD Pro. First time since the Rolex, the 57 car is on the top step of the podium. Let's get some reaction down on the pit wall. Here's Arjuna.
Jeremy Clark won on his debut in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. It's taken 9 more races for him to stand up top. And here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, seemed like a pretty flawless day for you and the team.
Yeah, we executed everything perfectly. I think, we had a great start, great first stint. I think a couple teams went off strategy, so we just wanted to make sure we stayed kind of on top of that. But then at the end of the day, we kind of controlled the race.
Back to endurance racing next time at Road America. How are you looking forward to the slight shift in mindset?
Absolutely, can't wait. I love the long races. Obviously, sprint races are super fun too, but I enjoy the longer stints and really getting to see a lot of things happen on track.
Putting things right from last year. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That was just an impeccable run, actually, Ryan, wasn't it?
Certainly was, and it started with his qualifying lap, new track record, a track record that had stood for 7 years at CTMP for LMP2, just remarkable, and actually with less power and downforce than that generation of car too, so really a remarkable achievement there. Then the team did its bit, Tom Dillman coming back here to a track that bit him pretty hard 1 year ago. All of that put together, that makes for a remarkable and memorable weekend.
Back-to-back wins for Vassar Sullivan Lexus in the GTD Pro class. Seemed like a pretty flawless, impeccable performance even from you and the team.
It was a really impressive day from the team. Yeah, the guys were awesome. The strategy was amazing. Good start to the race, good first pit cycle. Ben did an amazing pass there on the McLaren to get the lead, and then really just mega job from all these guys at Vassar Sullivan. That was a real well-executed race. Perfect strategy, and yeah, flawless, really. Awesome.
You've had speed all year. It seems like the last couple of races, things starting to come together for you and the crew.
Finally, starting to come together, yeah, 2 in a row, so feels pretty good, and yeah, look forward to the last hour this year.
Congratulations, see you at Road America.
Thank you, cheers.
Rich vein of form for those guys as well, and coming into the clutch part of the season, that's when you want momentum. Doesn't matter whether it's stick and ball sports or motorsport. Effectively, this is a championship season, a league season, if you will, Ryan, and you want to feel good about yourself and know you can win.
Yeah, you want to go into those championship deciding races feeling like the team is clicking on all cylinders, and hard to argue with that at the moment. Amazing to think Jack Hawksworth did not win at all last year, and then it took him until the Watkins Glen outing this year to get the first win. The wait between wins was much shorter this time, about 2 weeks. So congratulations to him and the whole Vassar Sullivan team going back to back.
Let's look at some more of the results for you, unofficial at this point. I will say, by the way, that despite some incidents and accidents, all 32 cars got to the checkered flag. Now, the codicil to that is that TDS Racing were 49 laps down on the leaders. Robert Wiggins and DXDT after that problem were 12 laps, 10 for Tower, 10 for United, 10 laps for 13 Autosport. Actually, they were only 1 lap away from their class, but they all got to the end of the race. Let's hear from Russell Ward, the co-driver who started Winwood Racing's Mercedes AMG. Perhaps a somewhat unexpected win. They didn't do as well as they thought in qualifying, Arjuna, but Russell did a great job, so did Phil Ellis, and they're back on the top step of the podium for the first time since the Rolex.
It's been a wait since the Rolex. Russell Ward back on top. You and Phil, I think, really executed in that first portion of the race to put you in this position.
Yeah, I mean, the team just did a great job. I mean, you know, I can't speak highly enough about these guys. They're just incredible, and it's a pleasure to be part of this group.
I know it's been tough. How have you and the crew been able to roll that momentum forward? Because I know Watkins was particularly tough.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you just have to rely on what you've accomplished and really just push every single lap. I mean, you know, here the competition is really strong, and you know, can never really be left up to luck. You've got to just try and never give up, and that's the key to this team.
Congratulations, Russell. Enjoy it.
Thank you.
Winward Racing ahead of Vassar Sullivan and Turner Motorsport, Mercedes, Lexus, BMW, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Aston. Top 6 in GTD, all different manufacturers. It was Lexus, Porsche, BMW, Chevrolet, Corvette, Ford, McLaren. Top 6 in GTD Pro, all different manufacturers and some different ones there. Unofficial results then after the Chevrolet Grand Prix for the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Into Europol, take it by... in 5th, in 6th, Pratt Miller Motorsports. And then it was the winner in GTD Pro, Vassar Sullivan from AO Racing. I think that's probably their best result of the season as well for the 77 car of Nick Tandy and Harry King. Paul Miller Racing ran them close all the way through. Corvette started in 3rd and 4th and finished in 4th and 9th, with the number 14 coming through in 4th position. Then it was the best of the Fords, the 65 car again getting further up the field. It's maybe a story of what might have been for RLL Team McLaren. Started on the front row. Max Esterson kept it tight pretty much all the way through his stint. Didn't quite work out for them in the pit stops, but he fought back to 6th position. Then it was Ford, number 64 for the Ford Mustang GT3. The Temerario finishes 9th, and then Corvette Racing, Antonio Garcia brought the car home in 15th overall, 9th in class. Winward, Vassar, Turner, Conquest, Wayne Taylor, Harter Racing, 6 different manufacturers in GTD. Inception, after a race-long battle, win the Bronze Cup and therefore take the top Aiken Award points by 9/10 of a second over Myers Riley Motorsport. Brilliant racing from Fred and from Felipe Fraga behind him. Remember, Felipe had to cut his way through that incident where he took 3 cars at once. Wright Motorsports behind them. Dragon Speed, Car Blanche, not where they would want to be on their GTD Pro debut, but I expect a lot of them to come. Gradient, 13 Autosport with problems, and they finish in 12th in GTD, and everyone beyond there had some issues. United Tower, DXDD and TDS, but fair play to TDS for getting that car back out. Final thoughts from you, Ryan?
Well, remarkable. That's the first team in GTD that has won multiple races this year. Congratulations to Winward. Congrats as well to Vassar Sullivan. Masterclass in the pits to get them the track position up to 2nd. Barnicoat did the rest to get them to the lead. And Inter Europol, what a victory for them. And I have to imagine an emotional one for Tom Dillman, given what he went through here 1 year ago.
Yeah, great for them. They get the VP Racing checkered flag. Arjuna Kankapati, some final thoughts from you before we wrap up, hand the PA back for the formalities and start Michelin post-race tech. 2 hours and 40 minutes. It was a proper endurance in these weather conditions.
And, you know, John, a bit of a palate cleanser, I think, both after what we saw at Watkins and yesterday's IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge race. A really intriguing strategic fight with just a couple of moments out on track that warranted the interruption of the safety car. I think this is a nice kick in the teeth for some of these drivers to build their momentum going into what is going to be an interesting race at Road America. 6 hours for the first time, and we saw just how feisty it was in 2025.
Thanks to Arjuna Kankapati, our driver database informed pit lane reporter. He'll stay with us for Michelin post-race tech, which comes next exclusively on RS2, part of the Radio Show Limited Network. You can access that by going to imsaradio.com. Ryan Marine was alongside me, John Hindhoff, in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. Thanks to Riley and the rest of the team at Concord, and our audio our audio techs up there, as well as the tape apes, and of course the camera operators and techs trackside here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Stay tuned for Michelin post-race tech, and remember, we've got all of the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship throughout the rest of 2026. Quick breath, and we'll be back on RS2. Bye-bye.
This program is a Radio Show Limited production. For more, check IMSARadio.com and subscribe to IMSA Radio wherever you get your podcasts. The checkered flag ends the race, but not the race talk. Have your say. Ask the experts. Make your point. Post-race tech. The end of the race is only the beginning.
Michelin post-race tech for the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship Chevrolet Grand Prix at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Hello, it's John Hindhaugh and Ryan Marine in the Ford Racing Global Broadcast Centre. Let's straight away get to Arjuna Kangapati, who's out in the melee at or around the victory circle. Arjuna, can you hear us?
Loud and clear, John, and already the LMP2 podium is about to get underway, so I've sequestered some of the GT2 Pro drivers instead. Neil Verhagen, I talked to Connor during the race. It was always planned for you to start and finish, but you had a bit of a moment with an LMP2 car. What happened there?